The following program is an MLWRadio.com production.
Allow me this volley, sir. Are you looking to purchase a home and are in need of a mortgage? Then SaveWithBruce.com is the only place to go. Perhaps you already have a mortgage and you are looking to lower your monthly payments, maybe consolidate some debt. SaveWithBruce.com can help you. Would you like to skip your next 2 house payments? That's right, sir. I said skip your next 2 house payments. Imagine pocketing that cash for 2 months. Then, I am here to advocate visiting SaveWithBruce.com today. You do not need perfect credit, sir. And the process is fast and easy. Fill out the simple form and you are on your way to saving money, sir or madam. SaveWithBruce.com. NMLS number 65084. They are a equal housing lender.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to What Happened When Monday, right here on the MLW Radio Network. And we are joined today by the master of ceremonies himself, Mr. Tony Schiavone. Tony, how's it going, man?
Hey, Conrad, I heard a rumor that Alabama won a football game this weekend.
Well, roll tide on that.
Yeah, roll tide on that. Very
hey,
good.
Congratulations on that high school that Georgia beat this
Thank you
weekend.
very much. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. How you guys going to do against Auburn this year?
We're going to smash that ass.
Okay. All
hey,
right.
let me ask, do you know which WWE superstar is a member of the App State alumni who Georgia just steamrolled this weekend?
No, I do not.
Charlotte Flair.
She went to App State?
She went to App State.
Wow.
Yeah, and she was there when they upset Michigan. She was not there when Georgia steamrolled her team.
Well, you know who else went to App State?
Nobody.
Yeah, you're close. Lois Schiavone went to App State.
Nobody.
Thank you very much.
Where is Lois Schiavone right now, and why is she at home cleaning up dog hair?
Well, she's not cleaning up dog hair. She's just sobering up. She was drunk all weekend.
Celebrating the Labor Day in style.
No, she just gets drunk for no reason.
On the weekends. I don't think it's for no reason. She's married to you. That's reason enough to drink, right? Hey, so I got lots of good feedback on our show last week. You know, the Q&A episodes always lend themselves to being a little fast and loose, and I felt like last week's run-in with Lois Schiavone was the highlight of the show.
I think it was, too. Getting her to walk downstairs for the first time in a month was a pretty darn good deal. And I do like to say that the music that Matt Kuhn added at the end of it was great, even though Matt Kuhn is full of shit. He did a great job with the music, don't you think? Don't read your phone while we're talking to each other.
I'm actually not. I'm doing preparation. I'll get it right.
Okay.
I've been drinking. I feel like I should smarten everybody up because while Matt Kuhn did have the genius idea to play Jaws, and then I don't know that a lot of people picked this up, but when I was reading the text and I said, hey, did you know I've been texting your wife? He played OPP by Naughty by Nature. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Do you know what OPP stands for?
No, I don't.
Throw it in your Google machine.
Okay.
But the Curb Your Enthusiasm music, I felt like really set the tone for Lois's run-in.
Right.
And I think it should be the theme moving forward.
So every time Lois shows up on one of our podcasts, we hit the music?
Well, just when she cusses and says that
she cusses all the time.
things like that.
That's how she does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you get any feedback from her on her newfound fame? Because over the weekend, WWE superstar Zack Ryder even took a selfie of himself wearing the Lois Rule shirt.
That blows me away.
Shout out to Zack Ryder and over 2 million followers who
Right.
saw the Lois Rule shirt.
Right.
Where's that Lois Rule shirt available, Tony?
That Lois shirt. Lois shirt's
You'll get it right. It's the greatest promo in the history of our great
Thank
sport.
you, motherfucker. The Lois Rules t-shirts available at ProWrestlingTees.com/WHW. They had a sale during Labor Day weekend, and they had a run on some Lois Rules shirts, plus some, dare I say, Tommy Young shirts.
Tommy Young.
Do you think Tommy's going to come after me and ask for a little bit of money for those shirts?
No, I think he's going to ask for an HJ. That's what I think he's going to ask for. But you don't get an HJ, but you do get a phone call from Tony. Pick him up right now. It's ProWrestlingTees.com/WHW.
Right.
And it's a pretty big deal that we're able to do this today because we're going back and we're revisiting maybe I don't know. This podcast a lot of times feels like it was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Right.
WCW, September of 2000. At this point, there's still some hope on the horizon, but with WCW seeming like, they're going to be sold, it starts to feel a little bit like the company circling the drain. Would you agree?
Yeah, and a lot of us were very uncertain about our future.
Including the booker, Vince Russo.
Right. So we didn't know exactly where we were going to be from 1 week to the next because we heard so many rumors. So it was difficult to really do your work. It was difficult to concentrate at that time. So it was a difficult time, and I think a lot of times it showed. It also was back during the era that I was produced a lot, and people were telling me what to say in my ear and screaming in my ear, and so it was a difficult time for me personally. And some of the stuff we did was good, but most of it was not.
Well, I didn't think that this show was that bad. And what's interesting is I think so many people voted for this because they assumed it would just be very bad. But I had to use the Torch's, research or website as a research. I'll get it right eventually. I had to use the Torch for my research this week because the Observer wasn't posted. And to my surprise, Wade Keller really put this show over pretty strong. He thought it was a pretty good show. It just felt like 3 hours worth of stuff packed into 2 hours.
Well, and it was because the matches ended up being short, and what ended up being the qualifying matches ended up being just like a couple of high spots,
right?
And that was it. So, and I agree with that. But what I thought was good about this show was the show had a storyline throughout the show, and the whole show was built around that storyline. And all the matches were basically built around that, and it was all built around Vince Russo being the boss and telling you what to do, and so it worked well. And but there are a lot of things I didn't like about the show, including my fucking commentary, which I thought was horrible.
Well, thankfully, no one listening is going to have to hear that commentary because we're doing something that a lot of you really enjoy. We're just going to go ahead and encourage you to plop down in front of the network this Labor Day. You've got the fucking day off. Sit in front of the TV, fire it up, and pull up Nitro from September 4th, 2000. And when we tell you to press play, we're going to press play on our end, and we're going to give you some live commentary. I've got about 10 pages of notes from the Pro Wrestling Torch just to throw in whenever there's, I don't know, a Vince Russo promo that we'd rather talk over.
Right.
You've kind of given some feedback as to how you feel about Dave Meltzer here on the program because we cover him so often, but we never really touched on how you felt about Wade Keller or the Torch.
I didn't. Wade was just like Dave. They all kind of hated me, and so I didn't read that much. I guess Dave kind of was the more high profile one.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you should probably know that as much as anybody else. But Wade seemed to be okay, and some of the guys who work with him are okay as well.
All right, cool. Well, go ahead and fire up your WWE Network.
A slapdick or say fuck Wade Keller?
No, not at all. I just wanted to clarify how you felt about him. I'm pretty good friends with Bruce Mitchell, but I discount Wade Keller totally and have for many years.
Wow.
No, it's not an ugly thing. I pulled this off the VIP. Wade's getting my money, so I mean, he can't be that mad, right?
Something's going on there. I don't know what it is, but something's there. Something's up.
No, he's just, you know how you have nothing happening, Evan Courageous?
That's right.
I have nothing happening, Wade Keller.
Okay.
You know what annoys me most about Wade Keller? The way he pronounces the word WWE. He goes, WWE. And I don't know why, but when he says it, it makes me want to punch a baby. Is that a thing? It is now.
I think it is.
All right, so fire up the WWE Network. Let's go to Nitro from September 4th, 2000. We're going to hit mute on our television here so we don't have to listen to your awful commentary.
Thank you very much for that.
The first thing we're seeing here, Tony, as we're firing it up, is the old WCW logo. Yes. Is this the worst WCW logo in history?
That's an exploding vagina is what that is.
Now, when I see this opening here and this mishmash of stars, it very much feels like which one of these is not like the other. We've got Sting, Goldberg, Kevin Nash, the Cat. I mean,
you hit that one on the head. Ernest Miller was okay, wasn't he?
Okay, he's okay, but look, the Cat, Sting, Booker T, Bill Goldberg. What the fuck is this shit? How's the Cat here?
I have no idea. But it was, and it is, as we're looking at it right now, a well-produced open, wouldn't you say?
No, I thought it was really nicely done. You know, it feels like an interesting time in WCW, and one of the weird things that sticks out here is the old big gold belt. At the time, to me, just reeked of tradition. This is Flair and Dusty and Steamboat. and now this. And so here we see the triple cage being constructed. See if you get a Klondike Bill sighting for us here.
Okay, I don't see. I just see television production and some of the TV people on top. There, no, that wasn't Klondike Bill. Klondike Bill would.
And here comes Vince Russo and the band of misfits. We've
Yeah.
got Kevin Nash and Scott Steiner and such. But this cage, you actually mentioned that the crew was there putting this thing together at 4 a.m. in the morning. Is that a shoot?
No, that was bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Klondike Bill would have been in charge of constructing this cage at this point, though?
No. Klondike ended up passing away that year.
He died in 2000.
Right.
Oh, I didn't know.
He died in 2000. So he was very sick by this time.
You know, it's really hard for me to have a Klondike Bill story and not have something funny, but there's really no way in good taste for me to say anything there, so we're just going to move along.
I brought this down, didn't it?
Yeah, you really did.
Thank you.
Your commentary, even here, has ruined the program, not just on the show.
What? And I just saw in the this is a pretty good Monday Nitro Open, though. I think just looking
lots
at the graphics.
of cutaways. I mean, fast and furious. You know, you could have slipped a nipple in there, and no one would have noticed. It was so furious.
Nor would have cared or seen.
We're starting with the World Tag Team title. What would you think of this entrance set? The big giant backdrop in the background. It feels like oh my goodness. Here we are. The Insane Clown Posse is here. And this has gotten me a little bit of, I don't know, Twitter heat in the last few weeks because there are so many people who are a big fan of the Insane Clown Posse. And I get if you're a fan of their music, but them as wrestlers, Tony, on a scale of 1 to 10, can you rate them for me?
Yeah, they would be about a 3 as far as wrestlers are concerned. As far as guys who really love the business, they would be about a 10. They really did love the business, and they put a lot of time and effort into it. And they were put in this situation to where, let's go in and wrestle. We thought it was pretty good crossover music-wise, and they just weren't wrestlers. They weren't the only ones that just weren't wrestlers that were put in this situation.
It doesn't really make a lot of sense. This show is coming to us from Dallas, Texas, Reunion Arena, and it feels kind of odd to me that they're here. I get that these guys would get a pop in Michigan, but it doesn't really make sense in Dallas. And their opponent here, of course, is going to be members of the Filthy Animals. And Conan is strutting to the ring, and they've got Tigress with them, and, of course, Rey Mysterio in tow, wearing horns but no mask.
Right.
Did you like the horny version of Rey Mysterio?
I did not. And as a matter of fact, if I recall, my only attention at this time was on Tigress as she came into the ring. And that's a shoot. And there's Juventud Guerrero. I never did get the horns. I never did get it.
He's horny, and I thought that would have been something that would have been right up your alley.
No.
Conan here.
Come over here and touch that. That's enough. I like that. That's enough.
How young is Charles Robinson here? Charles Robinson.
He may be 45 here. Because he's in his 60s now, isn't he?
I think he just celebrated his 70th birthday.
Okay.
But he's still making towns and putting fucking rings together and up and down, up and down, up and down 98 times a night.
And not only that, gets pretty high-profile matches. So now we're going to see, definitely, and you and I were talking about this, how guys who really can't work get a couple of spots to begin things, and then the match just goes down to the shitter from here. We're going to see a couple of good high spots here, like right here from Juventud.
So Violent J is now down, and here comes Hoovy on to Shaggy 2 Dope.
Is that what they were called back then?
Yeah.
You remember those names?
No,
I don't remember those names. I just remember the ICP, the Insane Clown Posse.
Let me
That's all
tell
I
you
remember.
a lyric that I think you would get behind, and I know Klondike Bill would be a fan of. They had a lyric from the Great Malenko album, which I believe came out in 97, and it said something like... trunk full of Faygo, car full of fat bitches. And I felt like that would have been a Klondike Bill special. Like he could have got behind that.
Yeah, he would have. You know what? There's nothing like having 5 guys on the mic at the same time.
Well, what I just noticed is right now, as we're doing a podcast, we just look at 2 podcast brethren. Keeping It 100 was just at the table with Disco Inferno.
Exactly.
And Conan. Here's the irony of life to me. Like, the Insane Clown Posse are not only making terrible music, but they're also doing terrible matches and promoting their terrible wrestling promotion, the JCW, Juggalo Championship Wrestling. Are you familiar with this?
I'm just no, I'm not. How can you say they make terrible music? I can't. I never did listen to their music, so I don't.
Well, let me ask you a question, and this is a real question. Fucking magnets, how do they work?
Fucking magnets.
That's a song from Insane Clown Posse. Fucking magnets, how do they work? So here's the irony, I think.
Oh, God.
The clowns
Yes.
are allowed to wear face paint, but the two guys who sold millions of dollars in merchandise, Rey Mysterio and Juventud Guerrera, whose livelihood was based around the mask, and it's such a rich part of their heritage and tradition in wrestling. WCW's like, no, we got to see these fucking guys' face. Hey, you guys are going to work these clown rappers. What the fuck is this?
It sounds like to me that you're some sort of luchador mark here or something.
How jealous are you of Shaggy Two Dope for getting the Bronco Buster from horny Rey Mysterio?
I'm not. Ray's a nice looking young man, though.
Oh, he's damn,
and
he's
that's
damn
probably
handsome.
one of the reasons they took the mask off of him.
You know what's so great about this too is you've got Charles Robinson in here, the referee for Ric Flair's last match, the referee for Shawn Michaels' last match, and here are the Insane Clown Posse.
Insane Clown Posse and Horny Juventud. Or Horny Ray and Juventud.
Horny Ray.
I sound like the one that's drunk.
Well,
It's you.
Hoovy was always horny. He had the juice.
Uh-huh.
There's something about Violent J showing off that he can press slam a 98-pound Rey Mysterio.
Wow. Yes, sir, buddy.
It's really impressive.
That's a
Look
show
what a
of power.
badass I am. I'm beating up toddlers.
Okay. They're going to do a spot here. Watch out. Go do a spot. This has got to be one fucked up shot. Oh, you can do it
We're going
again.
to do the same thing again because we fucked it up last time.
Okay.
Hoovy missed his spot.
Okay. Hold it until
Just hold him forever.
until Hoovy comes around. You know, this is a typical WCW, and it's one of the things that I think fucked us up. And one of the things
Here we
I
go.
think.
Are you
Am I
ready?
going to talk over the finish here?
I mean, you can if you want. You did back then.
Okay. Watch up top, son of a bitch! Oh,
Right in the gonads. Horny Ray's got his legs up behind his ears, just like Tony likes it.
okay.
For the pin, and the filthy animals beat the dirty fucking clowns.
Here's what I think about this. Oh,
Here's what I think about this. And you've got Major Guns in the back, and Elix Skipper looks like he wants to give her a cat bath.
I think he does too. And we've got Major Guns on the treadmill here, but she's not bouncing up and down enough.
See, I wonder if like standards and practices sees this and says there's too much bounce, put a sports bra on her.
That's exactly
because
what
if this
they
is
did.
WWE, she's in a t-shirt, and man, it's just flop city right here.
Yeah, and actually Pamela looks kind of better than she does.
Was that her name here, Pamela?
Pamela Paulshock? Wasn't that
I
it?
thought her name was Bobby Billiard, is it not? Or Bobby Billard?
No, it was Pamela Paulshock.
Okay. So the Cat and Booker T are climbing into a limo here. What's up with this lady closing? Is this Wendy Turnbuckle?
No, it's not.
I mean, how
Wendy.
out of place is this lady?
I don't know who that was.
If
Looked
that
like-
lady showed up as my limo driver, I would assum I'm going to die.
It
on
looked
this
like
car
Jane
ride.
Hathaway, the Beverly Hillbillies. is
The
what it looked
graphics are sponsored by PowerPoint. Look at this. MS Paint is who did this fall brawl graphic. Now, this is an interesting time in WCW because according to the Torch, Kevin Nash was lobbying in a big way to make sure that he got the belt here and not Booker T. He wanted to position it to where Booker T would be perceived as being a failure, as a draw with the title, and he wanted the title here and campaigned hard for it. Now, there's lots of stories about people who witnessed that and heard it, but you were there, Tony.
like. I didn't witness that at all.
So you don't believe that Kevin would have campaigned for that?
No, I don't believe he would have.
Out next, we've got Vince Russo, easily one of the most controversial figures in wrestling, and he's got his band of misfits with him. Can you remember everybody in this group, Tony?
Okay, there's Jindrak, right?
Yep.
Okay, and there's Palumbo, and
Yep.
there's Stasiak, and the guy, I don't know who the other guy is. Who's the short, ball-headed guy?
Well, one of the guys that
Look at this. We know how to build a cage, don't we? Well, what the flying fuck? The door won't even shut.
somewhere Klondike is rolling over in his grave.
Bless his heart, he sure is. So who's the little bald guy here? Reno?
Reno Riggins.
Reno Riggins. Okay, thank you. Jesus.
Above average Mike Sanders, though, is
Yes.
going to get some mic time later.
Yeah.
And Russo was coming under heavy fire, according to the rumor and innuendo from a lot of the guys in the locker room, for his decision to push this particular group of guys, because the perception amongst the veterans were they weren't experienced enough to be getting this push. You agree with that?
I agree with that, and there was some heat because of that. There was no question. These were kids right out of the power plant, basically.
Right. Well, but now at the same time, and I think it's interesting you say that, because wasn't Goldberg right out of the fucking power plant?
Yeah, but he was much better than these kids.
Well, was he better, or was it the booking that made him better? Because I don't remember ever seeing a 30-minute clinic from Bill Goldberg.
No, you don't remember, but you do remember hearing the pops and seeing great high spots and having the look. There's more than just putting on a 30-minute clinic to getting over.
Hang on. So just so we're clear, you're saying that you don't think with a similar push that Sean O'Hare could have been in a similar position to Bill Goldberg?
I don't think Sean O'Hare could have been as over as Bill Goldberg in a similar position.
Well, I'd like to.
You got to have the look, Conrad. You got to have the knack.
Whoa, Sean O'Hare like $1 million. If we let that motherfucker go 120-0, I bet he's getting the pop. I'm just freestyling.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all.
Okay, well, let's move on. Let's talk about the controversy with Kevin Nash. We kind of shifted gears there. Briefly, you said you don't agree with that. You don't believe that Kevin Nash was lobbying to be champ here.
Okay, but you have something to back that up?
Well, here's the rumor and innuendo. The week before, on August 28th, NITRO drew a 3.5 rating, which was way up from 2.6 the week before. And Kevin Nash wanted to take credit for that, so he put himself in a central storyline here. This is the conspiracy theory of wrestling. And so here on this show, of course, here's a spoiler 17 years later, but that's what's going to happen. And the rumor and innuendo is Raw is not going to be on air because they're being preempted by tennis. So because they're being preempted by tennis and they're going to pop a rating, Nash wants to be able to claim credit.
Okay.
That's the conspiracy theory. And supposedly they even talked to Booker T and said, hey, even though we're taking the belt from you here, we're going to go ahead and give it back to you at the pay-per-view, because Nash allegedly had to have one of his knees looked at after the pay-per-view. Is any of this ringing a bell to you?
The knee having to be looked at after the pay-per-view is. But none of that, there's so much backstage politicking going on that people could be lying about what Nash was saying. Nash could, in fact, have been politicking on the other end. You just didn't know who to believe back then, Conrad.
The Torch even quoted a wrestler saying, Nash is the best, even better than Hogan when it comes to manipulation. Hogan had a better name, or bigger name, but Nash kills you by being so witty and articulate. Sure, Hogan is articulate, but even he can't touch Nash's wit. I don't think anybody who's familiar with Kevin Nash would argue that right. Kevin Nash is a witty son of a bitch.
Yes, he is.
Do you think that he used that to kind of charm some folks into getting his way? Or do you say that that's all bullshit and Kevin Nash wasn't a politician?
Well, look, everybody, if you ask me, everybody who was over or everybody who was a main eventer had a politician side of them. I just don't know who had Russo's ear or who had the boss's ear at that time. Refresh my memory on this, because we had so many bosses and so many bookers. Do you know who was in charge of WCW at this time?
I'm glad you asked. It's Brad Siegel, and apparently the word is out that Russo feels like his job is in jeopardy, and he's booking every single show as if his job depends on them popping a rating. So the thought is, when the rating was down so bad 2 weeks prior to this, he felt like he had to mash the gas. So he did the title change the week before with Kevin Nash, and now here he's doing the triple cage, just pulling out all the stops.
Yeah.
So we're going to cover in a minute where there's going to be qualifying matches for this triple cage. But the concept essentially is, instead of dragging this out like you might normally and giving a big triple cage like this a 4-week build and doing it on pay-per-view, we're just going to cram it all into one episode,
right,
which is what we're covering here today.
Yeah.
And the theory is Russo's doing this because he's job scared. Would you agree with that?
No, everybody was. Look, and now that I go back and look at this, and now that you tell me that Brad Siegel was in charge of the company this time, here's the story behind this that I firmly believe. All of our jobs were done at this time anyway, and we didn't know it.
Yeah, and there's lots of worry as to what's going to happen. Bischoff is meeting with the company, Turner Home Entertainment, to try to figure out how to buy it with Mandalay. And at the same time, there's rumor that maybe the WWF may throw their hat in there. And there's even a question mark as to what the programming is, because once upon a time, the rumor was out there that TNT was going to become more of like a Lifetime type station aimed more towards women. All the Braves and Hawks and sports, all of that would be moved over to TBS. And that's kind of the thought, is they were going to kind of rebrand both of those big stations. So, of course, TNT, because this is like I guess the beginning of year 6 on Nitro for you guys at this point.
Yes, it is.
There's a question mark as to, hey, what's this going to look like? You know,
Right.
Are we still going to be here? Are we moving to TBS? Do you remember hearing any of those rumors all these years later, or was it all just kind of a blur in hindsight?
Yeah, it was a blur. It really was. And if you think about it here, TBS and TNT both have been rebranded, right, since that time. And what have they been rebranded to? 2 pieces of shit stations.
Sure.
Do you watch anything on TNT or TBS?
Not if I can help it.
Exactly
I mean,
right.
basketball,
Okay.
you know, and baseball.
I mean,
but that's it.
AMC has passed them. USA has passed them.
For sure.
FX has passed them. They've all passed them with quality television shows. So what I'm saying now, they got the fucking wrestling curse.
So once
May they
Vince
die in
Russo
hell?
was on
Okay.
their stations, they just went to shit.
No, once they got rid of wrestling, they died.
I was kidding about Vince Russo.
No.
Hey, so we see Kevin Nash here, and he takes his watch off and puts it in his pants pocket. Is that not a tell that some shit's about to go down?
Yeah, that a bump is going to happen.
It feels like he would have taken that off in the back.
Exactly.
But, I don't know that Nash could give one shit less here. He's wearing a tank top. He's got a baseball hat. He's got on basketball pants. Yeah. I don't think I would ever see Kevin Nash on Raw dressed like this. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. I'm not so sure. I've seen a couple of the Attitude Era of Raw, and that kind of looks like an Attitude Era for me.
Did you notice on the big gold belt there, the nameplate they used for Kevin Nash was right off of an old replica belt?
No.
They have a toy nameplate on the big
Really?
gold here for Kevin Nash, in my
Okay.
opinion.
Only-
We happen to be graced with the greatness that is leathered by Dan. Dan, that's a toy replica nameplate, right? Thumbs up.
Should we tell people that we have an audience here with us today?
I mean, if you want to.
Well, you've already said it.
Well, it would
Matt
have been the
Kuhn is
spirit.
here?
Matt Kuhn is here. He's
here?
going to find a way to fuck this show up, too.
Okay.
Just like he did our best stuff.
Okay.
By the way, we're raising money right now for the victims of Hurricane Harvey. We'd love to have your support over at loveforhouston.com, and they really need our help right now, don't they, Tony?
They really do. Absolutely, they do. And we have a lot of people that we know affected by the flood.
Sure.
And so, yeah, they certainly do need our help. I would agree.
Loveforhouston.com. Give all you can. Of course, it's tax deductible. And about this time, Kevin Nash is now turned on Vince Russo in a swerve. They just partnered the week before for Kevin Nash to win the belt. So, of course, 7 days later, he has to choke him. And because we're so job scared, the lights are flickering, and now Sting's crawling out from underneath the ring.
We got a great shot
The
of it.
light is
Yeah.
shining up, the smoke shining up from his butthole. Yeah. I don't understand why we're hot-shotting this. Have you ever seen somebody crawl in from the bottom of the ring with less pomp and circumstance than what we just saw?
No, and I've never seen anybody crawl from in the ring with a better ass shot than he just got. That shows you how we do. I mean, he comes in, we should make it look
You
good.
should have shot it from the other side
Exactly.
and see him burst through.
But one thing
instead,
we
it's
saw
the butthole cam.
Butthole cam is what we had. Absolutely. We were so good at that.
And so now Nash is taking a powder and says, Sting, kick his ass. Because, of course, Nash was positioning himself to be a part of this unholy alliance with Vince Russo. But now he's leaving Sting to take care of business here. And Sting, at this point, is still doing his Crow character that got him over so big in 96 and 97. Did you feel like the Sting character, as it is here, needed to be freshened up a little bit?
Well, I thought the Sting Crow character was good when he was mysterious and didn't say anything. And now we got a Sting Crow that's doing the old Sting promo from years gone by with the spiked hair and the colored face. So, yeah, I thought if he's going to go back to the old Sting, go back to the old Sting.
Vince Russo is now running up the ladder like Jim Cornette was giving chase. He's up top here. And I tell you, when I watched this earlier this week, Tony, I couldn't help but think just how fucking dangerous this really is. Wow. and unnecessary.
Yeah. They did a good job in this to secure the floor of the cage more than they did back in the 80s and the Crockett days. They really did.
Hey, let me ask you, what was your favorite triple cage match with Luthez? George Hackenschmidt was one of the most well-rounded wrestlers of all time. And I wonder how many triple cage matches he worked.
Exactly. I have no idea. And I never seen Luthez come in with neon highlights either.
I know when I think about dangerous weapons I'd want to hit with someone, an aluminum trash can and a guitar are the first thing.
I know.
Like if somebody broke in my house, we're taping this at the Conrad. If somebody broke in right now, I'd be like, Coon, get the guitar. Dan, grab the aluminum trash can. Where are the fucking handcuffs?
That's right.
It's just...
Well, you know what we had, and we didn't realize it, and I still didn't realize it at that time. We didn't realize it until the match got underway. There was a hardcore section of this cage, and no one smartened us up to it.
Well, yeah. I mean, nobody was telling anybody anything, but the middle section it looks like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles lair.
Right, exactly.
Like there's Donatello's gimmick.
That's right.
And so now they're crawling around, and this just feels unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like these are not trained professionals. It's worth mentioning that Vince Russo's working with a concussion right here. He was seriously concussed the week before. He was booking TV from home all week and trying to fax things in. After the show, he was on WCW Live and not himself. He couldn't finish sentences. So he books himself into, let's climb on the top of a triple-decker fucking cage and hope that you're clear-headed enough to, not die.
Yeah, not to get dizzy and fall off.
Right.
Exactly, yeah.
And here's Goldberg. How would you describe Goldberg's look here?
Goldberg looked pretty fucking tough to me. He had the number 95 on the back of his jersey. You know what that was?
That was his number at the Georgia Bulldogs.
Exactly right. Go Dogs.
I really appreciated that he came out with not only the shirt, but it was unbuttoned, so you could see his taco meat chest hair.
Yeah.
Because it just felt like, hey, I'm kind of a badass, but I want you to know I'm sexy too.
Yeah, okay. Well, what's wrong with that?
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Exactly.
I mean, it's what Tom Zink would have did.
And this happened just moments ago, in case you forgot it.
Yeah, 4 minutes prior. Now they get the shot in the replay.
Yeah.
Of Sting birthing himself from underneath the ring. He's crowning right all the way through.
Yeah. Hey, make sure he pulled up his microphone.
And now they're staring down, but there's no lights on that either.
No.
I really feel like in hindsight, the people who needed to be fired were production people.
There were a lot of them who did need to be fired. And I can give you some names.
Well, let's get it.
Craig Leathers.
Well, okay, so now Steiner is throwing a trash can like somebody had too many takeaway plates at the hot bar at Shoney's in Ackworth.
Rob Wright should have been fired many times.
Jeff Jarrett is here. Hey, rumor and innuendo about Jeff Jarrett and Tommy Young. So, okay, wait, we're cutting back here, and now we're seeing an introduction of the people at the desk. And let me just tell you, on the left is Powder. Jeremy Borash. And on the right is the sexiest big man. That popped the crowd here.
Yeah, it did.
And they're shaving Jeremy Borash's head, and this feels like something that he should have had happen in TNA.
Yeah.
Look at all the ladies there. Can you name the ladies? Do you remember all these girls?
I don't know any of them. No.
So Mark Madden here in the Hawaiian shirt. The rumor and innuendo is, and he is TV's best looking big man. I am podcasting's best looking big man.
You sure are.
He was kind of the dirty commentator at the time, right?
Right. The heelish type.
So me here on the podcast.
Right.
The rumor is that Vince Russo really liked him in Hawaiian shirts. Is that the way you remember it?
No, I don't remember that at all.
Why is he wearing a Hawaiian shirt?
We kind of dressed any way we wanted to.
Can I give you a compliment right now?
Yeah.
You're a damn good looking man right there.
Thank you very much.
I saw that guy the other day when I was watching this. I was like, that's not the guy I know.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I don't know what happened.
I do know what happened. Yeah. I got old and fat, motherfucker. That happened.
Did a Krispy Kreme move near you? Like, what happened? Did you do overtime on that Eclipse donut, or what the fuck happened? And I'm a fat guy. I'm allowed to say this.
I know you are.
But this Tony Schiavone ate that Tony Schiavone.
Yeah, just wait.
And this one grew a beard.
Just wait till you get my age.
And quit cutting his hair.
Okay. Yeah.
So we've got two Nazis out here. Did you ever see these guys? Did you see them?
Oh, I did not.
The Harris brothers are here. They've got their SS tattoos.
Yeah.
They're not happy. They're out here cutting a promo with seemingly no reason to be there.
Yeah.
And they're upset with Mark Madden. Mm-hmm. This feels very throwaway-ish, but it feels very Vince Russo-ish. I don't know how or what has gone on, but why were these guys getting a push here? Why did Vince like them so much? He used them in TNA. He used them here.
Can I tell you something as a shoot here about these guys?
Yes.
I don't fucking remember them.
Well, I wish I did.
I don't remember these fuckers at all. I was watching this thing and said, who in the hell are these guys? They look like two Horace Hogans to me.
They're attacking Chronic and hitting him in the head with sugar glass.
Okay.
Here's what's so offensive to me.
Okay.
They have their SS tattoos in plain view. How am I from Alabama and I'm fucking offended? I don't even know a Jewish person.
Well, we're talking in 2017, and that was 1990. What the fuck? That was 2000.
2000.
Okay, things have changed in 17 years.
All right, so now we've got Shane Douglas with sleeveless jamboree outfit. It feels like he works with the $1 Million Band for Alabama. Like that outfit that he's sporting right there.
Yeah.
And he's with Tori Wilson. Can you use 2 words to describe Tori Wilson?
Right here or just overall in life?
Roll Tide is what we were looking for.
I was
She's
looking
Roll Tide.
I was looking for slutty, which is...
Whoa. That's offensive.
No, it's not offensive.
We're not gonna...
Oh, listen, I like slutty. You like slutty too, don't you?
We keep our slut shaming to Missy Hyatt and Sonny on this program.
Okay.
And the cat.
I mean, it's a nice
Kimberly.
slutty look, isn't it?
Stacy.
Okay. It's a
Come on, I
nice
want to
slutty.
lay out. Hey, speaking of, I was just smartened up this weekend.
Where were you?
Are you in the loop on Kimona Wanalea? Are you familiar with her from ECW?
Yes, she was with us for a little while.
Yeah, a very attractive Asian lady.
Right, yeah, she was.
She had a stint as a stripper and then wrestling. Natural progression.
Yeah.
I'll just say wrestlers are whores.
Yeah, okay.
And so here we are.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I heard that she was once engaged to Jimmy Hart. Did you know that?
I had heard that Jimmy Hart fell head over heels in love with her.
Well, how would you not? I'd fall head over whatever.
Okay. I had heard that they were living together. I didn't hear that they got engaged. I heard they moved in with each other.
I heard they were married, and then someone said, no, he never officially divorced his wife, but,
Okay.
he never given her a cat bath.
Here's I talked to Jimmy Hart about a month ago on the phone. And
Does he have more of an Asian accent these days?
He does not. But
Did it go like, Tony, tell me all about your family? Is that the way that went?
No.
Okay.
He told me, he said that I told him we'd like to come do a live show at his place.
Yes, I need his wife to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And he said, that sounds great. But once he listens to this fucking thing, the shit's done.
I didn't say anything bad.
Yeah,
I've only ever said that he was married to a hot chick and that he was Hogan's weed carrier. That's it. I haven't said anything else.
Talk about unused talent here, or misplaced talent.
Now, let's talk
The
about
great
what's going
fucking
on.
Muda in this angle.
So we've got Vampiro, the Great Muda, and Sting. And this feels like Vince Russo saying, hey, who has fucking face paint? Put them all in the ring. God damn it, I forgot about ICP. This could have been a 5-way. Like,
Exactly.
why I feel like the only reason these guys are in here is because they all have very pale, white, kabuki-ish face paint.
Look how shitty that bump was. Once again, I wanted to bring this point up earlier.
You hate Vampiro, don't you?
No, I do not. Not at all. As a matter of fact, I think he and Matt Stryker do a great job on Lucha Underground.
Much better than we do here.
Well, yeah. The green mist in the eyes.
How would you describe green mist in the eyes?
What, on the match?
Never mind. Fuck this. Keep going with your story.
My story is that they okay, is this a 1, 2, 3, 1?
Well, why
2,
wouldn't it be?
3, okay.
Now, these guys had a pay-per-view feud where they threw each other off buildings and set each other on fire and battled in graveyards. But now we got a reverse DDT in 19 seconds. Fucking match over.
Exactly.
It turns out you can set him on fire, but if you spit that green mist in his face, it's fucking too late. And there are the clowns, as predicted. Let's get everybody with fucking white face paint out there. It'll be awesome.
Oh, and then he sprays his mist up in the air, and they all back off like they're fucking scared.
Great Muda, the most underrated Japanese talent in the history of U.S., you think?
Underrated?
Well, I mean,
I think with the dirt sheets always jacked off to him.
I don't know why, but I really dug Lance Storm being so straight about this.
Right.
Like, he's just nothing to this.
Not even looking down at
Correct.
them. Right. I mean, I would be checking out boobs right and left here, but look at it. He's looking in the eyes of Paula. He looks across to Elix Skipper. A great line. But I don't want to be Canadian.
It's a great line. Great line.
Yes, it is.
Speaking of great lines, we've got Stevie Ray here, who recently made podcast news. I don't know if you saw this, But it came out that he says Terry Taylor is the most racist man in the history of pro wrestling.
Really?
Yes. Your response?
Wow. That's my response. Do you have Stevie Ray's number?
Yes, I'll get it for you.
Okay, get it for him because I want to call that motherfucker. Because I really got along with him, and I want to hear the stories about Terry being racist, because you know how we feel that you can't heap enough shit on Terry Taylor.
I don't know anyone who's ever liked Terry Taylor.
Yeah.
I have it on good authority that Terry Taylor, when he was a small boy, his mom would have to put a pork chop bone around his neck just to get the dog to play with him. It's real.
Yeah, okay.
I'm serious.
That's a lame-ass old joke is what that is.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
So Kevin Nash in the back drinking coffee.
Yeah.
Scott Steiner's just standing around holding a pipe.
I know. I'm thinking he's gonna clock his ass with it, and they never did use it.
You know, that's not the visual you would imagine. If I said Jake Roberts was standing around holding a pipe, totally different visual. Totally different visual. It's worth mentioning here, as Stevie Ray's coming to the ring, that this is at a time, and let's take
Can
you
I
back
ask you
to
something.
Yeah.
Am I even needed in this fucking episode?
What do you mean?
I don't know, because you're on fire, motherfucker.
I'm just, man. I'm trying to do what I can. WCW 2000 is not that entertaining. You know,
you're telling me, and you know what the bad news is? I was never going to watch this bullshit again until I met you.
Yeah.
And now you're force feeding me this shit. It's like Mystery Science Theater 3000 all over again.
Well, that's kind of what this is, and that's
Yeah.
what I want to do for the next live show.
Yeah.
What I enjoy most about this promo, and I guess I'm going to give a spoiler here in a minute, but he's going to face off with Booker T, and Booker T is in the qualifier match, of course, having most recently been world champ. He's, of course, figured in a big way for the triple threat or the triple cage Wargames match, but he's got to qualify to get there. So he's going to take on his own brother here by surprise, who's going to like sneak attack him. And then afterwards, they do a quick promo and explanation as to why that would happen. Do you remember what he said?
Yeah, he said you got to be prepared for things like this.
Well, specifically, Suckers Gots to Know.
Suckers got to know.
And I want Suckers Gots to Know to be our next T-shirt at ProWrestlingTees.com.
I don't, because I know Stevie Ray would come after my ass for some money.
Well, we'll cut him in on that.
Okay.
I just think it would be cool if we said Mondays at 6 a.m. Suckers Gots to Know. Mm-hmm. I like it.
I like it too.
So when I was doing some research for this, I ran across the report.
Ooh, can I say something here?
Please do.
We're watching this on high def. What is on his shoulders? Did you notice that when he turned around?
Yes.
Okay. What is that? Be careful about what you say, but what is that on his? What was that on his shoulders? It wasn't a tattoo. It was like two big things that you want to kind of pick off, like scabs.
He was branded.
Really?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes. When African American people are burned like that, the skin bubbles more. And so one of my very best friends was in a black fraternity, and they brand you to join the frat. And it bubbles up and burns up like that. Man. And it's a way of you like being initiated and showing that you're a man and that you can take it. So he was branded. So that is really, really hot metal being pressed into his flesh to show that he can fucking take it.
Holy shit.
And his brother robbed a Wendy. So these are two bad fucking dudes. You know what I mean?
Have you checked with Booker T since what's been going on in Houston?
Booker T is good.
He's good?
He's really good friends with Bruce Pritchard, as you know.
Yeah.
And he's safe. And considering a run for mayor and considering the shit show they've had recently,
I'd vote for him.
If Mattress Mac runs, he wins in a runaway.
Right.
But if he doesn't, then Suckers gots to know they should vote for Booker T. Now, can you dig that?
Don't hate the player.
Hate the mayor.
No.
So what I was going to mention is this is at a weird time in the company because Hulk Hogan is actually suing. And, about the whole Bash at the Beach 2000
That was
thing.
so much bullshit.
So you say bullshit.
I still say bullshit to that.
Well, I asked because it was even in the torch that Hogan's lawyer spoke to like Atlanta media and said, quote, "This is a real lawsuit." The attorney's name is John Taylor.
Oh, you know what?
You know John Taylor?
Very well.
How do you know John Taylor? Did he sue you too?
No, John represented me against WCW one year.
Really?
Yeah.
And what were you suing? Oh, was that when you sued for your payoff when you were at WWF?
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Quote, what Russo said was defamatory. Is that right? Or
Yeah, okay,
defamatory?
yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Defa.
Right.
In a breach of contract, he said that Hogan was most upset that his children were in the audience. Do you buy that bullshit?
No.
I mean, given we've seen what we saw on Hogan Knows Best, I'm
Right.
pretty sure they're okay with watching Daddy lay down.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all bullshit. John's a worker.
As a reminder here, we're on our way to Fall Brawl, and Fall Brawl at this time is looking like Kevin Nash against Booker T, Goldberg against Scott Steiner, Jeff Jarrett against Mike Awesome in a bunkhouse brawl, and Shane Douglas with Torrie Wilson against Kidman in a Pittsburgh plunge scaffold match.
What?
And this is all around the same time that Bill Goldberg has a new book coming out, I'm Next. If you had to describe Bill Goldberg's book, Tony, how would you describe it?
I don't know.
Why weren't the Harris twins programmed against Goldberg? Considering their SS tattoos, it feels like a natural fit, does it not?
Yes, it does. It feels like a natural.
We know that the hero would have prevailed.
Right.
I mean, Goldberg would have smashed him at the
Yeah,
same
of course he
time.
would have. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would have been great.
Absolutely. Now here's a sucker's got to know.
Suckers gots to know. A famous wrestler who I happen to be friends with once took a shower with Harlem Heat.
Oh, whoa, really?
And he was telling me that after he took a shower with Harlem Heat, he gave them new nicknames:
And that was
Big Heat and Little Heat. And I'll let you decide which ones, but I'll tell you this: suckers got to know. Up next, we've got Chronic walking into the back, and they're wearing shirts right out of Buff Bagwell's closet.
This was actually very funny. The Young Dragons did a very good job here of
That's Kaz Hayashi and Jimmy Wang Yang and
whatever they are.
Jamie Noble in a mask.
Jamie Noble in a mask. Good job, Matt. Okay, Matt knows more about this shit than I do.
Well, who doesn't, in fairness? Jamie Noble forgot to jump, and they reminded him and then forced him right through the table.
Exactly.
Jamie Noble's dead. Maybe Nydia can come revive him.
And now we're going to go from shitty to shittier.
Now, can you describe these three characters right
Yes.
here?
Okay. We've got Sugar Shane Helms, which of all three of them,
Most talented
and
Underrated.
underrated, and the guy in the middle is just a turd. Evan Courageous.
Well, Shannon Moore was the other fellow.
Okay, so there's another turd unnamed.
Okay, well, I like Shannon. He's a nice guy. But
Is he?
Here comes Chronic, and at the time, they had a saying that they were breaking necks and cashing checks.
Right, I remember that.
And they're going to be 3-on-2 here,
Okay.
which feels like something Buff Bagwell charges by the hour for.
Okay.
I feel like you could, and I realize they're not with us anymore, but if they were around, I think both of these guys would be on CowboysForAngels.com.
They would be good at that, wouldn't they?
You know, a good friend of mine over the weekend told me that that whole For Angels part was a rib. That, you know.
Okay.
And he says that was the case even before wrestling. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. Apparently that was the case.
You saying that...
Pump Handle Slam, something Buff Bagwell will do for you over at Cowboys for Angels. Didn't take care of Shannon Moore at all there. No regard for human life.
No.
And now he himself has lost his.
Yes.
Of the Bryans here, which one did you think was more talented?
I thought Brian Adams was.
Really?
Yeah, I really did.
What didn't you like about Brian Clark?
See, you put me in a tough situation. Not that I didn't like anything about Brian Clark. I just thought he was probably better as
I thought Brian
Wrath.
Clark had a better look. Oh, Wrath was a great look.
Yeah, right.
I mean, now speaking of great looks, here comes JEFF himself. We've talked on the program before how he gets a really bad rap from fans online, but I found him to be very charming and engaging as a real person. Like when I just met him in real life, I thought Jeff was great.
He is he's tremendous. He really is. Anybody who knows Jeff Jarrett really likes him, and got a good head for business too. Always.
So here comes the cat. Somebody
Me
call
and
my
Mrs.
mama.
Jones. Boy, Mrs. Jones, even in a collar, looks good, huh?
Do you think she got that because one of the boys donkey punched her?
I don't think so.
Well, we're going to see why she got it.
Oh,
no,
taking the
Jeff Jarrett hit the balsa guitar right over her head.
Wow.
Did you ever play with the balsa guitar? It feels like that would have been something you would have had fun with.
play with it.
Well, like, it's a gimmick, right? And
Right.
so it's balsa wood or
Right.
some similar shit. It feels like you would have been like, I need to take one of those home and smack Chris Schiavone over the fucking head with it.
No, but by God, that would have been a hell of an idea.
I mean, I think that'd be great.
Exactly,
What do you
yeah.
mean you got a C on your report card? Come here, boy. Whack. You better get all A's next time you slap nuts.
We used to travel with like 20 of those guitars. I mean, it was part of the props truck. All those guitars were.
Yeah, I think he still has several hundred of them.
I'm
And they're
sure he
probably
does.
available. At
Oh,
Level
look
Force
at a
Gold.
schoolboy. And we missed it. You see, we missed that fucking spot.
I mean, it was a schoolboy. What did you
No,
really miss?
we fucking missed the whole setup for it because we were on Jeff Jarrett on the
Now, let me
outside.
ask you this. This is rumor and innuendo.
Okay.
Vince Russo the week before got a concussion. Do you recall how?
I do not know.
The cat kicked him upside the fucking dome.
Okay.
So the question is, did he mean to concuss the motherfucker?
No, I don't think so.
Because he's Eric Bischoff's boy.
Right.
He's in the business because of Bischoff.
So you're
Bischoff's kind of on the outside looking in.
right.
And they said they put an inexperienced guy in there with another inexperienced guy. What did Russo expect? Well, the cat's been kicking people in the head for real his whole life. He probably knows how to pull it a little short. But yet, somehow, bro, got fucking rocked
No,
upside
no, wait a
the
minute.
head.
If you've been kicking people in the head your whole life, for real, do you really
He's
know
been
how to-
training children, so he probably knows how to not kick children full blast in the fucking head. Just freestyling. I mean, that's how Bischoff met him.
Okay, well,
I know Matt Coon kicks his kids in the head, but that doesn't mean everybody
Yeah.
does. Have you seen those lip sync videos Matt Coon puts on
I
his
have
Facebook
not.
with those kids?
Really?
He has like 30 kids he has held hostage, and he
Right.
says he's teaching them music,
Right.
but they just learned to lip sync.
Sure.
How fucking long does that really take? Apparently a whole summer. It's a rib.
yeah, remind me to stay away from that shit. In
Do not send your kids there if you
Okay.
care about them.
All right.
I'm just saying.
the middle of central fucking Virginia.
No, nothing good ever came out of Richmond.
I agree.
Exactly. So in the back, a shirtless Scott Steiner just chilling. And I don't know why, but
A few moments ago, he was calling Vince Russo an ass.
and now he's got a
goes
bat and he's hitting the table. I don't.
See, son of a bitch is what he said walking away. And that's how Scott Steiner was. He just really cool. Then all of a sudden he would explode.
So Scott Steiner is not happy, and Goldberg has Parker's jump rope around his neck. So Scott Steiner is not happy that Chronic has now advanced,
Yeah.
because he feels like that's going to hurt his chances to win the title. So he's upset with
Right.
Vince Russo here.
That's part of the story.
And Russo, I guess at this time, is really feeling the pressure because he probably feels like if WCW goes out of business or if he loses this job, he's pretty well burned the bridge with the WWF.
Well, that's not true. He was rehired by WWE. He didn't last long there.
Yeah,
You
for
know
2
that.
weeks,
You
which
know-
is 2 weeks more than you got, right?
Yeah, you're not getting it is. But you know why he left WWE the second time, don't you?
Well, they asked him to leave.
You know why they asked him to leave, don't you?
Stephanie McMahon.
Yes. Russo told me that he walked in and said, I can only tell you guys the truth about this. And as long as Stephanie McMahon is here running creative, this company will never do anything. He said, I'm sorry, that's the way I feel. And they told him to leave. So he basically told Vince and everybody in the WWE that she wasn't worth a damn, and then they fired him. And
In hindsight, is that a good career move for him?
no, it was a terrible career move for him, but that's the way he felt.
I'm
So-
just freestyling. If somebody
Right.
came into your business and said, listen, Lois is the fucking shits. You're going to have to get rid of her if you ever want to do anything.
Yes.
Now I'd like a raise. It just doesn't feel like the best career decision.
No, it doesn't feel like the best career decision. And then,
So here's Tori Wilson cutting a promo.
yeah, with that screeching voice of hers.
What? Boy, you just really don't like
I
Tori.
like Tori.
Did Tori reject your offers?
No, I like Tori at all.
Hypothetically, if you were making a pass at Tori, what would that sound like?
Tori Wilson, come here. Come over here, jack me off.
I feel like it'd be like, Tori Wilson, eating ain't cheating. Come get your cat bath.
If you fuck Billy Kidman, you'll fuck anybody.
My gosh, we are off the rails. Here we go.
Which is true. Fuck, she fucked that little 2'1" fuck.
Here's what I don't understand at this point, because a few years prior to this, Shane Douglas was being regarded as being one of the top guys and having it in the business. Had a lot of buzz in the underground. I'm talking about ECW.
Okay, right.
And so people thought, man, the potential here is just through the roof. And now he's here and just really not setting the woods on fire.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that, he was a big fish in a small pond and he didn't have what it took on the big stage? Or was it just a victim of booking or timing? Or what would you say?
Well, here's my first thought about it. I think maybe that we approached guys who were over in ECW the way that Vince approaches guys who are over in WCW. Keep them underneath, keep them pushed down. Does that make any sense to you?
No, it does make sense.
Yeah.
And I can't argue that, but it's just curious that a guy like Raven comes in and does, in my opinion, considerably better here than, say, a Shane Douglas did. Mm-hmm. And at the time, Shane Douglas was considered to be the more legitimate, quote-unquote, worker. Anyway,
wow,
Goldberg
legitimate
here.
worker. But Shane has got good facials. We're looking at it right now.
Absolutely. I feel like he's very underrated.
I do too. Absolutely. Got a great talker. I agree. Absolutely.
Now, here's the other theory. To kind of catch everybody up, by this point, Benoit and the rest of the radicals, we'll call them,
Okay.
they'd already left. And so they jumped ship, and the plan was Shane was supposed to go with them. And they all had a plan to go visit Vince McMahon and make their pitch because they'd all gotten their releases, and then they didn't take him. Their friends fucked him around.
Wow.
And told him they were going on this day, and they really went on that day.
Jesus.
And didn't return the phone calls. So it was this vote of solidarity, all for one.
Yeah.
And then he was kind of left here.
Well, just a snippet of how shitty the business really was behind the scenes. Really was.
Did you hear that story?
Huh? I had heard that story.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not.
Goldberg here is working with Shane Douglas, and Shane earlier in the show had the campaign, and he wanted the naturals, the natural born killers to be, or natural born thrillers or whatever, to be with him. And Tori Wilson saying, no, you don't need those guys. And Vince Russo, after he leaves the room, says, hey, just watch out for him. And in the Torch, they would even comment that Shane managed to get a better than average match because seemingly at this point they were still doing 2-minute squashes with Goldberg, but they went 4 minutes here. And the Torch, in a non-jokey way, said that it was good on Shane to get the extra 2 minutes out of Goldberg. Do you remember the talk being that it was that difficult to work with Goldberg?
No. I think people were... What I remember was people were scared to death of him because he was so stiff.
Now, let's talk about that because this scared to death thing I don't think has been addressed enough. And I hadn't even heard this until I did my research this week. But, we'd always heard that Goldberg started to become a little bit of a prima donna here and difficult to work with and would undermine shit and change creative and just be argumentative.
Oh, really? Now, okay.
So let me ask you this story. Because a week prior to this, there was an incident where he and Evan Courageous were standing around near the ring before the show gets going, and Goldberg extends his hand to Evan Courageous. Evan Courageous observed that he had just shifted himself in his pants and thought, hey, he's trying to shake my hand as a rib, and just turned his back to the handshake. Mm-hmm. Goldberg blows his stack, grabs the guy, puts his hand on his throat, and is screaming, losing his mind. And before everything, cooler heads prevail. But he was trying to really get physical with Evan Courageous here, and that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way who had a lot of faith and confidence in Kevin Nash, specifically Evan Courageous. Because when they go around and say who saw what, Kevin Nash, who was standing right there, said, I didn't say anything. And Evan Courageous thought Kevin Nash had his best interest in mind and was looking out for him and considered him a buddy or a brother. And then he wouldn't rat on Goldberg.
Jesus.
Goldberg tried to apologize. Apparently Evan Courageous popped off and said that, he was a $2 million brat or some such. Do you remember this fight or incident at all?
No, I don't remember this fight at all. But what I'm saying about Goldberg is that not necessarily that I never heard about Goldberg being a prima donna, but I heard about Goldberg being so stiff and so green that you could get hurt in the ring with the shit he was doing. because the shit he was doing was look real, and the reason it looked real was because a lot of it was real. Yeah.
Well, I mean, is that really like? I guess that's the thing is you're putting over him at the beginning of this program, saying that he was over and he had natural charisma, or did he just fucking hurt people without regard for them? Because the whole idea behind wrestling is to make it look like it hurts, but not actually hurt anybody.
Exactly. He wasn't the first though that did that. I mean, you can't.
But he ended Bret Hart's career.
Okay.
I mean, so well, if we're gonna, I guess you don't like me to say that. That's just me.
Okay. I don't. So.
But he didn't end your career or kick your fucking head into the third round.
No, he did not. No, he did not.
So now we've got the Natural Born Thrillers out there, and of course Goldberg's going to squash all of them.
Right. Look at this stupid.
Chuck Palumbo's next.
Yeah. The event, right? Is that what we called him back then?
Yes,
The
he
event?
was. Yes.
Right.
Here's above average Mike Sanders.
Yeah.
Above average Mike Sanders went on to do comedy.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, he was a good talker. He really was.
I felt like he was a good promo,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I thought he had an upside
Right.
as a mouthpiece.
Right. Now, if I recall from watching this, they had me.
Goldberg has no idea how to do a pump handle
Yeah.
slam.
Ugh. Yeah, this is all stiff shit right here.
So we're just hurting people and spitting on them.
Yeah, basically what it is. Look
He's
at
choking him like he did Evan Courageous now, grabbing his ding ding,
this. Okay.
and then a spear on Shane Douglas. So Goldberg has just destroyed 98 men.
Yeah. But the fans are buying it, right?
Well, I mean, I think anybody wants to see somebody get beat up for real.
Well, but still, they're still buying it. Okay.
Well, they're buying it because he's beating people up for real.
Yeah. A story, a well-known story for the Atlanta Falcons. There's a 1, 2, 3. Is that when Goldberg played for the Falcons for a short period of time, he would challenge all the Falcon players to wrestle because he loved wrestling, right?
Right.
And he would end up like stretching all of them. And somebody said to Bill Frelick one time, Frelick was a part, I think, of WrestleMania 2. They said, Frelick said, you've wrestled before. Why don't you hop in there with him? Frelick said, that motherfucker's nuts. He'll hurt you.
Right.
So I think that motherfucker's nuts, he'll hurt you, extended to 2002.
Frelick should have smartened up Bret Hart.
Yeah. So tell me I don't know the Bret Hart story.
I'm sure we'll cover it at some point when he kicked his head in the third fucking
I
row.
was handsome back there, wasn't I?
You really were. Look at you.
Next to Jeremy Borash, actually.
No wonder you have 19 kids. But a lot of that may have just been you positioned yourself between Mark Madden and Powder.
That's right. Borash looked like shit there. I didn't realize that. Okay.
So the Bill Goldberg book, I'm Next, was coming out, and it was promoted as being high energy, exciting, and a hilarious story of how Goldberg went from unemployed football player to undefeated world champion in just 18 short months. So there you go. What'd you think of the book?
I didn't read the book.
I tried to read it, but I got hurt doing so. Gary Michael... The crowd popped for that.
Yes, they did.
Gary Michael Capetta was writing his book at the same time, too. Body Slams, Memoirs of a Wrestling Pitchman. Did you ever read that one?
No.
So you have some heat with Gary Michael Capetta?
No, I mean, why would I read that book? No shit on Gary, but what impetus would I have to open that, to crack that fucking book? Did he shit on me in the book?
No.
Did he?
No.
Okay, well, he's the first that didn't.
Let's move along here.
Man, I was good looking there.
Vince Russo and Big Vito had recently appeared on a New York radio station, and Hogan...
Hold on.
Okay, so we've got Major Gunn swimming in a pool here. Elix Skipper has his shirt off. And, of course, Lance Storm is there, and they're trying to train her on how to be Canadian in a bikini.
Yes.
And I believe we're going to see a run-in here in a few minutes.
Yeah, we are.
And how can you describe these guys who are hiding in the bushes?
You see Hugh Morris hiding behind a twig. He's 400 pounds. There you go.
And in goes... and
it's a pool party.
And then huge erection is there
and they all
with the wall.
Oh, God. And we're wondering why we're unemployed right now.
I think everybody jumping in the pool was actually a meme, like an internet thing this summer.
Really?
Yeah, I think where people were like jumping in the pool at the same time was actually an internet meme, and WCW was doing it even back here.
Okay.
I feel like this is almost like wrestling's version of the Bad News Bears. The way we've got Vince Russo talking to this group of natural-born thrillers.
Right.
Reno Riggins. What's your favorite Reno Riggins match?
I didn't remember Reno until you told me his name at the first part of this podcast. So don't ask me that question.
And there's Vince Russo with his helmet. Too bad he wasn't wearing that when Cat knocked his fucking head off. You know? It could have helped.
Okay.
So here's Arn Anderson, and he can't help but comment about how she's wet and she looks great.
Exactly. Always in a shitty show, always bring Arn Anderson in to save it with a good promo.
Stacy Keibler here and David Flair are going to be getting married next week on September 11th in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'd like to remind everybody that Ric Flair's son got married to Stacy Keibler on September 11th, 2000, and a year later, on their 1-year anniversary,
That's right.
coincidence, I think not, Flair hit it first. Available now at ProWrestlingTees.com. It's worth mentioning here that Billy Kidman was supposed to be the person getting the big push here, but he's injured.
Really?
So they call an audible, and instead they push Big Vito, who's getting really good reactions, to the surprise of everyone.
Yeah. Did Kidman have vaginitis? Was that it?
No, he was actually injured. I think he pulled a hammy banging his hot wife, Tori Wilson. So Big Vito here had recently been on the radio with Vince Russo, and they threw down a challenge to John Rocker. Do you remember this?
No, I do not.
You remember what John Rocker said?
No. What he said about, in New York got him.
Yes.
Yes, right.
So they tried to go into business for themselves, bro.
Okay.
And challenge him for something on WCW. How much heat would John Rocker have had he appeared at a pay-per-view for you guys here?
Well, he showed up at a couple events for us, but they wouldn't use him.
That feels like the biggest waste in the history. When you've got that much heat, why would you not use that?
He was on a rehab assignment with the Richmond Braves, and we were at the Richmond Coliseum, and we sent a limo to pick him up because Tenay was in the limo to pick him up.
Was there a black driver?
Yes, it was Vincent. Okay, to pick him up, and
Just would have beat him with his ding dong if he got out of line.
And they brought him in the back to talk to him, and they couldn't work out anything. And I don't know if it was because of the Braves, because of his agent, because of what he didn't want, but they tried to work out something with him.
So now we've got Mike Sanders doing a promo. Why don't you think Mike Sanders ever got a bigger shot in the business? Was his in-ring work not up to snuff? In your opinion?
He looked, they put him with a bunch of muscle heads, and he didn't look the part, right?
I felt like he's kind of like the Enzo to Big Cass.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
To make a reference to the current product.
He should have been a cruiserweight. Exactly. He should have been on 205 Live.
I do like that right here. He says, based on my count, Big Vito, there's 5 of us and 1 of you.
I know.
And there's 6 of them.
Right. Yeah. I brought that up on the commentary.
You
there.
did,
The commentary there.
You were good at numbers even back then.
Thank you very much. And screaming, too. God. Look how mad they are. Boy, they are angry, aren't they? They really know how to act. And Vito was talking about jerking each other off in a shower here, too.
Yes. Which I feel like is probably something we haven't done nearly enough on this show.
What, jerk each other off in the shower?
No, I was just talking about jerking off in general.
Okay.
Did you see this past weekend for Labor Day that the Charlotte Knights, one of the bitter rivals of the Gwinnett Braves, actually had Crockett Night, and they had the Rock and Roll Express, they had J.J. Dillon, they had Tommy Young.
Yes.
How many people do you think hit Tommy Young with our catchphrase for the very first time this weekend?
I'm sure Tommy's wondering what in the world is going on.
I think he's going to find his flip phone and call you up and complain.
Yeah, if he knew my number, which is unlisted, by the way. I was at the Crockett night last year. They had a Crockett night.
Was Tommy Young there?
Tommy was there. Yeah, Rock and Roll Express was there.
So you might be there next year.
Yeah,
and you might have some splaining to do.
That's exactly right. I'll give him a shirt.
I think you should give him a shirt.
Yeah, I'll say word, Tommy.
I've always been curious about Big Vito here because I think a lot of people forget that Big Vito is one of the rare wrestlers who worked for ECW, who worked for the WWE,
right?
Who worked for WCW. Pretty underrated, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, and I like the Mafia kick, didn't you?
Well, my favorite clip of you and the Mafia Kick is on YouTube.
Yeah.
When you call it the Mafia Kick.
And Heenan and Dusty,
And Dusty
yeah.
has a field day.
Yeah. Tony, he kicked him in the mush.
Of course, they're all going to take turns here just beating the shit out of Big Vito, which makes sense. I mean, he was getting a push, so let's just squash him out
Let's just
1
squash
week
him.
later.
Absolutely, yeah.
Conspicuous by his absence during this era is Scott Hall, who is reported as being in excellent spirits and very happy living at his home in Florida, and basically not interested in returning to wrestling, even though he's been medically cleared, and he's still being paid here by WCW. At this point, did the company not have any faith or confidence in his ability to sort of stay straight, I guess you might say?
I guess they didn't have any trust that if they would put him in a big program that he would be able to perform in a big program, is what I'd heard.
This show, you know, what we kind of described earlier as being 3 hours worth of content, or maybe even 3 weeks, crammed into 2 hours. Russo was telling people at the time that he was disappointed in the management, and he didn't feel like they supported his creative and were willing to kind of see things through.
Yeah.
So he felt like he had to sort of, to use a wrestling term, hot shot all
Right.
of this stuff.
Right.
Do you think, given the climate and the temperature at the time, that was a fair assessment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people were trying to keep their jobs, and a lot of people trying to keep their jobs were just trying to.
Watch Sean O'Hara here, and I want you to tell me that, in your opinion, he couldn't have got over like Goldberg did.
Okay.
Okay, as soon as we get this fucking guy.
Gin Drac. Okay. All
Here
right.
we go. That's a big motherfucker to be doing a move
It's
like
a
that.
swanton bomb. Thank you. They should put me on. They should put me on SmackDown. Swanton bomb. But JBL would pick on me, and I'd
Well, they
cry.
could put you on, but JBL's not there anymore. He's leaving.
Oh yeah, I'd heard that. Right.
You could be the color guy
Yeah.
if you could figure out how to do that.
I'm not doing that. But
You wouldn't do that?
no, I would
Fuck
not.
you, you
I,
wouldn't do
I
that.
would not go back there and do commentary again.
Yes, you would.
No, we'd have to give this up.
If the money's right, have fun. Why wouldn't you do that? We're only doing this till the fucking wedding's paid for anyway.
I got news for you. We're doing it way past the wedding.
Are we?
You and I are joined at the
Son
hip for
of
a
a
long
bitch. Thought I was getting out of this.
time. Okay.
So,
Okay, then I'll quit and you go back and sucking Bruce's dick.
you know, me sucking Bruce's dick got an award. Did you know that? That's podcast of the year. Tony Schiavone has passed away. He's choking on ice. He's spitting everywhere. All right, in the back, we see Big Papa Pump warming up for Tommy Young. Vince Russo's got his helmet on. I'm not sure what the fuck is going on. But Tony's really in trouble, folks. He's about to spill his drink and die. This is happening. All right, so next up, we've got a backstage promo here with Chronic, Booker T, and Sting. We're getting ready for the War Games. Give me something, Tony. I guess we should explain that we had to stop recording for a minute. We thought you were going to die in my den.
That's right.
downstairs.
That'd have been great, man. Me dying in your den watching fucking wrestling. That's how I want to go. Okay.
Your last words would have been,
Conrad Thompson. Stick something down my throat so I can breathe.
well,
Well, I'm just freestyling here, if you know what I mean.
sure.
Okay. She was really good at holding the mic there, wasn't she? See how she
feel-
gripped it real
Yeah.
tight, right at the near the middle. You know, when you rearrange yourself in your chair,
You know the bullshit's
I know
coming.
the bullshit's coming, right? So go ahead. You heard over the weekend what?
Well, it's bullshit. I'll just keep it to myself.
Okay.
So we're right around
This show works better when you throw out the bullshit. You know that, don't you?
Yeah. Which is why I do it every week, and people get mad.
That's right. Well,
And they're like, why aren't you talking just about facts? Why do you guys have to insinuate Tony's gay? I'm like, we're not insinuating. You know what I mean? We're just not. So Dallas, Texas, why wasn't that a bigger market for y'all, do you think? I mean, it feels like WCW never really caught fire there the way they should have.
yeah, I know. And if you take a look at, we really didn't have a sellout there. I mean, they had a lot. I don't know. I mean, it was an old NWA territory.
Stronghold. Yeah.
It sure was with the.
And you go, I mean, even back to World Class, this was a very big wrestling town.
Yes, it was.
And for whatever reason here, WCW was just not, setting the woods on fire.
What did they put in Texas Stadium with Flair and Kerry Von Erich back years ago? You know,
Well, it was a record at the time.
Yeah,
it
right.
wasn't full, but I
Right,
mean,
but
it was
still.
a lot of folks.
Right.
Yeah.
They still made a lot of money.
We get this question all the time. Your slap dick, is that a variation? Are you ripping off Jeff Jarrett's slap nuts?
No, it's not. No.
Where'd your dick come from?
Slapdick came from the basketball coach, University of Georgia, Jim Herrick, who was a basketball coach at UCLA and led him to the title. He would use that sometimes in the back and make us all laugh, saying slapdick. And I always thought that was a funny term, and that's how I started using it with the University of Georgia. They beat Appalachian State this past weekend. I started using it at the University of Georgia in our with our broadcast team, calling them all slapdicks. And then I started using it in the Braves in the back, calling it, when we would play a bad game, called it slapdick baseball.
So we're getting started here. Sting starting like a house of fire against Jeff Jarrett, and they're inside this cage match, and there's ladders all around, so you could climb up to the second level.
Yeah.
Do you remember the silly rules of this match? Can you kind of recap them for us?
Yeah, the silly rules, you had to go up and grab the belt up top and then go back down and go out the door. So you had to go through a gauntlet to get up and then a gauntlet to get down. And that was the silly rule.
The thing that kind of jumped out to me is that in the corner over there are posters for a new movie, The Way of the Gun. And it's draped over the guardrails, and it feels really, really random. Like, why would a wrestling fan bring that? Do you think that somebody was getting paid for the placement there? I mean, why would there be a movie
that would have
poster
to be
with
it.
Yeah, it has to be.
Sure. And I didn't notice those until, were they there the entire night or just?
Well, specifically here is when they're getting really good shots of them.
Yeah.
It feels like some sort of guerrilla marketing. Hey, so Medusa is allegedly starting to work as like an agent for some of the women wrestlers and training with some of them. And supposedly she took some liberties with Tori Wilson around this time. And you were kind of talking out of the side of your mouth about Tori earlier, and we all know that you would like to ride bitch on Medusa's bike.
Yes, I would.
Do you remember anything about this Medusa-Tori situation?
I remember hearing about it. Was it true? I don't know. And Medusa and I were very good friends, and she never did tell me about this that I know of.
Before you nearly passed
I would
away,
like to see her and Tori get into a fight.
Would you scream like Joey Styles, cat fight?
Yes,
cat fight.
oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely I would. Ever tell you how much I love Medusa? I mean, love Medusa.
What are your two favorite things about Medusa?
Her personality and her wit.
Yeah. So Scott Steiner comes out, and he's got on a mask here, I guess, to protect his nose.
I guess. It was like I don't know, it was like what they used in the NBA at one time before they got the clear mask in. No one really understood why that happened or why he was doing this. Now,
according to the rumor and innuendo, it was because he was brown-nosing Vince Russo. He had been such a handle for everyone, but he had been on his best behavior for Vince.
Uh-huh.
Do you believe that there was renewed confidence in Russo? I asked because in the Torch, you see a lot of the maybe shit disturbers are out of the company at this point or on the sidelines. Buff Bagwell's not here.
Right.
Scott Hall's not here. Lex Luger's not here. And the morale amongst the mid-card is supposedly at an all-time high. And then guys were even positioned to be like the Russo Big Six. Do you remember hearing about this?
the Russo Big Six, I do not.
So the gist is there's a handful of guys who Russo felt like he could really build around and hang on to. And it's probably not that big of a surprise as to who all was in the Big Six. Do you want to guess?
Natural Born Thrillers, were they in it?
No.
Okay. Sting.
Sting is in there.
Okay. Jeff Jarrett.
Jeff Jarrett's in there.
Okay. Scott Steiner.
Scott Steiner's in there.
Okay, so I need 3 more, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, it wouldn't be Kevin Nash, would it?
Kevin Nash is in there.
Kevin Nash is in there? Okay.
You're getting there.
Well, I guess I got everybody here in this main event just about, right?
I mean, you got it. So he's
Okay.
really starting to build around, his 6 big guys. And supposedly the veteran wrestlers, that the younger wrestlers really respect are Sting, Goldberg, Bret Hart, Booker T, and Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
But supposedly they have a very low opinion of Kevin Nash, Lex Luger, and Chronic. Do you believe that to be true?
I'm sure that's the case. Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember around this same time there being some sort of mandate from WCW that you cut down on some of the risky programming or risque programming?
Yeah. No question. That's why they sent a guy around with us.
Standards and practices.
Standards and practices. A guy named Galen, and we had another guy who was, believe it or not, Tom Glavine's brother.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Tom Glavine's brother would travel around with us sometimes.
So Glavine was throwing heat and his brother was blocking it.
Exactly right. And a lot of times what would happen is that we would have a meeting, we would go in and they would come up with this outrageous shit, and they would go into standards and practices, and the standards and practices would say yes or no. And even when they said no, they would go back and say, fuck it, we're going to do it anyway. And so we would have a lot of heat. And I think that also led to the downturn of our company too. Doing business on our own.
Right.
Galen was a pretty good guy. He was a sharp guy, and he let him get away with a lot of things, but they just a lot of times just said, fuck it. Now, here was the hardcore cage match, and we had no idea about this. We were not told.
You're an announcer. You're outside. You're trying to provide the soundtrack to this, and you have no idea what the gimmick is.
The only thing I know is that you have to go up, get the belt, and got to go down. I didn't know. When Scott Steiner got the bolt cutters, that kind of blew me away. I remember thinking, where in the fuck do those things come from?
Lots of folks were complaining, according to the Rumor and Innuendo, about Chronic and their lack of selling, specifically just a week or two prior to this when they worked with Elix Skipper and Lance Storm. Do you remember there being lots of conversations about people not selling? It was even noted in the Torch that they had to really convince Kevin Nash to sell for Big Vito in the lead up to this show. Do you recall any sort of conversations about selling?
Well, there's been always been conversations about selling. I remember conversations in the 80s about the Road Warriors not selling shit.
I mean, in this era, though. At this point, it feels like everybody should be cool with selling.
Yeah, everybody should be cool with selling, but you know what? Not everybody could sell.
Well, get out of the fucking business. How's that?
Well, I always thought selling was like an art form, that you could either do it or you couldn't.
How do you think Goldberg was when it came to selling?
Well, I don't think he was a good seller at all. But I don't think they wanted him to sell.
Well, he didn't. Bret Hart sold that kick, though. Hey, so let's talk about Kevin Nash, because
Iris up. There you go.
He's big to be a really big part of this match, of course. And, the Nazis are in there with Chronic, and they're all taking turns beating up the baby faces and each other with aluminum trash cans and other various Ninja Turtle items.
Yeah.
Nash supposedly takes issue with Johnny Ace. Johnny Ace is here with the company. Oh, you just cut eyes at me.
Wow. I didn't remember Johnny Ace being with the company at that time.
It was written in the Torch. At a recent taping, Nash approached Johnny Ace and called him a stooge, as Nash believes Ace designed the fine system. Apparently, WCW had started to fine wrestlers if they were tardy. So if you were late showing up, like Conan and Rey Mysterio had been, they got fined. When Kevin Nash got a fine, he called Johnny Ace a stooge. Do you recall this paradigm shift where you guys started to fine the boys if they showed up late?
I remember the fines. I sure do. I don't know who instituted them, but if you think back about it, if Johnny Ace did institute the fines, then it helped him get a job with the WWE down the road, didn't it? Because he had a long, good run with them.
No, he did real well. And,
yeah.
I mean, he married into John Cena's family, so it ain't that bad.
Yeah.
The Nitro girls were being kicked around as
kicked around.
Well, only when Nash was there.
Okay.
So they were training to become wrestlers, and they were sending them to the power plant, and there was some debate as to whether or not they should have to go work, indie shots with Les Thatcher before they were put on national TV.
Right.
What did you think about the decision? Because essentially they were like a cheerleading troupe.
Yeah.
And now, hey, let's make them wrestlers.
Yeah.
This feels like it's in the book of bad ideas.
Well, it is, and it's in the book of desperate ideas is what it is. And a lot of those girls really, didn't want to do that, and it dropped the morale down with them a great deal.
Morale was pretty low with Mike Awesome. He was cut pretty bad at a recent Thunder taping prior to this after a guitar shot from Jeff Jarrett. It actually led to there being like a 3/4 inch deep gash that was 2 inches in length. He needed a bunch of stitches and was pretty bad off. Do you remember this injury?
Oh, yeah.
Because, we kind of joked about the whole balsa wood guitar earlier,
Right.
but sometimes, those things are hard to predict and guys get hurt for real.
Sure, absolutely.
Do you remember other instances besides this Mike Awesome situation?
What they got hurt with
the guitar?
Card? No, I do not.
Do you remember, was there any sort of heat between Jarrett and Mike Awesome for that guitar
There
shot?
was. Absolutely, there was.
Really?
Yes.
Well, you've seen it. I mean, you've seen Jeff Jarrett, destroy, 973 guitars. Do you think that he did anything particularly reckless or careless in this one?
Not that I recall, counselor. Why does this sound like a deposition already?
Well, because I'm trying to get something besides fucking one-word answers. Okay. You keep doing it, I'm going to fucking choke you to death again and do the rest of the show my goddamn self. Let's talk about something you love talking about, Arn fucking Anderson.
Okay.
We won't involve women this time. Okay. Can we do that?
Well, yes.
Okay.
You're really trying. Arn's a friend of mine and a friend
I said he didn't do it, and you were like, I'm not stooging him off. And I'm like, fuck, you're breaking all kinds of man code right now. Okay. You're making it sound like you did something when I have it on good authority. He didn't. Thank you.
Okay.
His fucking son listens, Dickie. What are you doing?
I know his son listens.
All right, so Arn Anderson took on the backstage role of Goldberg's mentor.
Right.
Talk to us about that. I don't think a lot of people are familiar with that. And, of course, we've talked about on this show that Arn is actually kind of the guy who helps put together all of John Cena's matches.
Right.
But once upon a time here, he's helping do that for Goldberg.
Right.
What was he doing for Goldberg?
Well, what he was doing, he was guiding Goldberg about how he should be in the business, because Arn Anderson knew how to, behave himself is probably not the right word, but knew how to act in the locker room. He knew all the codes. He was a good guy that everybody trusted, everybody respected. He knew how to work. He knew how to sell. He knew how to talk. And he was a perfect guy to help Goldberg along become what they wanted Goldberg to be.
What they didn't want is disruptive forces in the locker room. And Lex Luger is actually told just to stay at home. So he's getting paid to sit at home, just like Buff Bagwell, with the idea that basically they feel like they're, manipulators and just a negative influence.
Yes.
So we're just going to pay you to stay at home.
Well, you know what? That's good business practice, don't you think?
Well, how about fire the motherfuckers? What's wrong with that?
Because you probably end up being in a lawsuit, and it's not worth it. Go ahead and.
But the idea at that point, if WCW would have continued, in your opinion, would have been Luger and Bagwell were out of here. They had worked themselves out of a job.
Right.
They just would have been on cowboyforangels.com, and that's it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's and I've worked with the Atlanta Braves for many years.
Right.
They make sure that you can be a great baseball player in the minor leagues, but if you're a pain in the ass, you're not going to stay with the Braves long. You're not. And that's been down through the history. And I think it's just good practice.
We haven't talked about him a lot on the program, and I want to here because Bret Hart is one of the more popular wrestlers, amongst our listeners. And his contract was supposed to expire in January of 2001. How mismanaged do you feel like Bret Hart was in this era of WCW?
Oh, it was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
What would you have done differently with him?
What I've done differently with him? Oh, but that's a difficult question.
Well, it just feels like in this era they really could have used him.
Yeah, of course they could have.
It's a shame Goldberg kicked his fucking head off.
Well, of course. Yeah. Of course it is. But, if Bret Hart, who was a megastar with the WWE, should have been a megastar with us.
No, I agree.
And he was not a megastar with us.
Instead, the cat was in this main event.
Yeah,
or supposed to
exactly. It's the only thing we did right with Bret Hart was give him the title in Toronto and with his family and everything. And that was kind of a nod at him and his family. But we should have done more with him. So
Goldberg is now at this point in the match, handcuffed to the rope. Slick Johnson is running around on the second level trying to figure out what the fuck is going on.
That's right.
Sting is climbing a ladder to the second level. Yeah. Booker T's climbing down. Nobody's really sure why.
Yeah, I don't know how you in theory, this match sounds good, but how in the world do you really work a match?
Let me tell you, it is one impressive visual.
It is.
It feels like American Gladiators with face paint.
Yeah, it does. But in effect, you end up getting a kind of a shitty match.
But you lose some of it when you see Vince Russo climbing up with a hockey jersey and a fucking helmet.
Exactly.
Now, let's talk about this, because Russo gets a bit of a bad rap, and I found this to be really intriguing or interesting, because there's rumor out there, and maybe Russo put it out himself, I don't know, but that other members of the booking committee thought he was one of the stronger heels, so they wanted him to have more segments on TV.
Yes, they did.
Okay, so you concur with that?
I concur with that. Yeah.
So it's not necessarily, because everybody listening is probably thinking, Russo just always wants to put himself over and put himself on TV, but you thought he really executed as far as getting heat.
Yeah, and listen, there has always been, and I've told you this before, there has always been a kiss-ass mentality in wrestling.
Oh, so maybe it wasn't that he was great. They were just saying he was great, so they'd be figured in.
Exactly.
Well, let me say this, too.
Okay.
Let me just go a little deeper down this rabbit hole.
All right.
All right, we see Booker T climbing to the top. He's about to grab the Kevin Nash toy nameplate off of the big gold belt. And let's see if he's about to be world champion. Can he fetch the belt? All right, he touched it and let go for no fucking reason.
Was he doing tying his boots?
Well, Kevin Nash is afraid of heights. Signing his contract, he has to climb up there, so he's not fucking doing it. Booker T has unhooked the belt. So now Booker T has the belt, but now he's got to escape the cage with the belt.
Right.
Okay.
Go back down through. Absolutely, he does.
So it feels like to me Kevin Nash had the right strategy in kayfabe. Why climb all the fucking way up there when they got to come by the door anyway?
You know, I made a comment during this match. I don't know if when you listened to it back, that I had talked to Kevin Nash, and Nash said that his strategy was to stay down on the ground floor.
That feels like a very Hogan-esque strategy.
Yeah, but I don't know if that was me just working, or he really did tell me that now. Here, 17 years later, I'm not so sure.
You're not sure if Kevin Nash discussed wrestling match strategy with you prior to... You didn't know there was weapons in the middle, and now you think you're quizzing the boys on what's your strategy for tonight's job six-man?
No, dumbass. If he just buzzed me on the way back that this is what I'm going to do.
Did you notice how these guys, as they walk around the outside, none of them have a lot of confidence in the structure, and they're holding on to something just in case?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They're petrified. Absolutely.
I would be too.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in there with the madman like
Steiner.
Like Scott Steiner.
That's right.
Who has an apparatus on his face. It's blocking his vision.
Right, exactly.
And here's Jeff Jarrett, who just filleted Mike Awesome 2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
And they're swinging guitars and aluminum trash cans and other Teenage Mutant Ninja
And is that a
Turtle
kendo stick? Is that what you would call that?
I need to know what you would call it.
A kendo stick is what I would call it. Okay.
What do you know about kendo sticks?
I only know from what I saw on the format.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you remember why it gained popularity?
No, I don't.
Do you remember the kid over in Singapore who was caned?
Oh, yes, right.
So he got the caning.
Right.
Well, that's kind of the idea here.
Okay.
So now Vince Russo is on the bottom floor, and he's got the world title.
Ooh.
The cat, somebody call my mama, is in there.
Yeah,
and, of course, Russo's still wearing his helmet.
Yeah, he just got
There's
kicked.
Kevin Nash.
Yeah.
And he's setting up the cat for a jackknife. Mm-hmm. This is not why Sonny Ono sued. They should have made Cat the champion. You laughed, but if David Arquette and Vince Russo can be champion, why can't the cat?
You're blaming me for the David Arquette thing, aren't you?
No, I didn't say that. We'll do that another time.
Okay.
Kevin Nash is holding his toy belt. Goldberg,
Oh,
now,
my God.
super strength. Oh, he just Bret Harted him. Okay, so two mule kicks, a super kick, a forearm, and now he's blocking a bat, punching Russo.
That wasn't a bad working punch right there.
It wasn't a working punch. He punched the shit out of him. We've already established that when he does it for real.
Okay.
There's so much CTE in the ring right now, and it's not even funny. Fucking Joseph Maroon would have a field day with these bastards after a Goldberg match. Goldberg dropped the belt just like
Somebody's
he did
choking
Bret's
here.
career. Yeah, there's another one. So Goldberg's on his way out. He's got the belt.
Yeah.
And as he turns the corner to get out of the cage, oh, what do you know?
Wow. In a Cleveland Browns jersey.
Bret Hart himself.
It looks like.
Slammed the door on him. Big Papa Pump comes over. He's got the pipe.
What?
And Jeff Jarrett has the belt, but he doesn't want to win. He throws it back inside, which in kayfabe makes no fucking sense. And
So this all becomes a swerve for Kevin Nash to retain the title or keep the belt.
Ernest the Cat Miller was just propped up like Tom Selleck in Playgirl. He had his hand on his head like he was doing the I Dream of Jeannie pose.
Yeah.
Now here's Kevin Nash, and Vince Russo is begging for forgiveness, and now they're hugging. It's a swerve right after a swerve, a week after a swerve. 3 swerves in 2 weeks. Kevin Nash has the belt, and they're checking the time. They open it up, and 1, 2, 3, Wargames 2000 is over, and Kevin Nash is victorious. He came in the champ, and he left the champ. Vince Russo booked him into a bad spot here where he had to defend his title in a triple cage against all these folks. And what do you know? He retained.
So let me ask you this. In pure wrestling sense, at the end of the show, do you think fans... Now, I know Wade Keller said it was pretty good, okay? But do you think at the end of the show, which was always important, that fans got what they wanted there? Or you think the fans turned off the show being fucking pissed? That's important.
Here's what I struggle with in this.
Okay.
What was the point? You know, I ask myself, like, recently on Raw, we had John Cena and Roman Reigns do a promo on each other for a contract signing.
I watched that, yeah.
So, a really smart person in wrestling asked me this week, what was the point? And I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, they didn't sell me the match. Like when I finished the promo, I know the internet was talking, and that's cool. But what was the point? Like, they didn't sell any tickets. They didn't sell the match. They didn't make me want to see the match. So what did they accomplish? And I kind of felt that way. I watched that. With that in the back of my mind, I watched the show this week, and I thought, so help me understand. He booked himself, you know, Kevin Nash is supposedly now his ally, and he called him out and said, you're going to have to defend this title against all these guys, and everybody has to qualify. And it was all a big ruse for what?
To get Kevin Nash the belt back, which they could have done without having...
They didn't have to put it on the line.
Didn't have to put it on the line, exactly.
So it was a swerve for the sake of a swerve.
Sure it was. So it was not done correctly, and it's not a knock on anybody. As you know, I'm a friend of Vince Russo's. I really am.
Sure. Well,
yeah.
And it is worth mentioning, it did do a good rating, and
that was the point.
That was the only point.
Okay, the point is to give what they thought was a pay-per-view quality gimmick match on free TV.
Well, they did that.
Exactly. So they did what they wanted.
And the rating here, you know, was good. So mission accomplished. We should mention that this tells you kind of where WCW is at the time. So, and let's remember here, we got Bret Hart, we got Goldberg, we got Sting, we got Kevin Nash, we got Scott Steiner. We got some big fucking stars on the show.
Yes, we do. Absolutely, we do.
It drew 3,534 people.
At the Reunion Arena.
At the Reunion Arena,
which holds probably like 15,000 people.
It's a huge arena. It holds a lot of folks there.
It's been torn down now, but it did.
3,500 tickets paid, 6,700 in attendance, only 138,000 on the house. And by the time you know, rent the building and set up the rigging and pay for the satellite time and the production, much less before you ever pay the boys, they ran this at a loss.
Yeah. So why do you think they ran it at a loss? What's one of the reasons they ran it at a loss?
Why did they run it at a loss?
Yeah, you could sit home and watch the fucker for free.
No, so you're saying back to your early Anderson, I gave away too much shit.
Exactly.
Now, the next week on Nitro, the set changed yet again just a little bit. This time being the week when they did like the stars in the background as opposed to just the colors or whatever. It feels like in this era of WCW, you were constantly trying to fiddle with different looks.
Different looks that were cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
in other words, we had been bleeding money for a time, so we're going to try to, as cheaply as we can, get things done.
Was Crockett still in charge of that at the time?
Yeah, David was. He sure was. He was in charge of it all the way through.
Yeah,
we're watching Conan now.
No, the show's over.
Okay.
So the network just automatically played the next one, but we're going to pretend we're not watching this for now.
Wow.
Chat me up about what the situation was with Bischoff at the time, because there's rumor and innuendo that he was sort of kind of dictating some things because people understood that he was going to be the guy who was able to take control. And one of the things he had pushed down, allegedly, was a cost-cutting move where the guys had to start paying for their own hotel and travel expenses. And that's always been kind of common for the WWE. They'll pay for your airfare, but your rental cars and your hotels are on you.
Sure.
Do you remember that being passed down to the boys, and did you attribute that to Bischoff, or did somebody else push that down as a cost-cutting measure?
I didn't attribute that to Bischoff at all. I attribute that to Brad Siegel when that happened.
Tank Abbott is a guy we haven't talked a lot about here on the show, but at this point, his future with WCW was kind of up in the air because the rap on him was he hadn't really worked on his in-ring skills, and he had, kind of balked at the idea maybe of going to the power plant. Did you feel like Tank Abbott could have been a contributor at this point, or was it just a failed experiment?
It was a failed experiment. There was no question it was a failed experiment.
Bret Hart, who kind of closed the show here, being a big part and obviously setting up that future feud with Goldberg where he kicked his head in the third fucking row. He ripped Diana Myers of the WCW legal department on a promo on Thunder, and apparently it was really big hit amongst the boys. Do you remember the promo or the comment and why Myers may have had some heat with the boys?
Well, Diana Myers was the girl that always took the heat because she was the face of the legal department. And that is the same reason that we just saw Roman Reigns and John Cena do their promo.
What do you mean?
Well, it's cool with the boys. You see, it's cool with the boys. It's cool with the smart fans. It doesn't do any business.
Right.
But it's cool with the boys and it's cool with the smart fans. So
there was talk, when we're talking about, the legal department, maybe 5 days, 6, 7 days prior to this, in the prior week to this show we're covering, WCW employees, I'm going to read this directly from the Torch. WCW employees caused a disturbance on an airline flight headed to Tucson, Arizona. Sources say that several employees, wrestlers included, appeared to be intoxicated and disrupted the flight. At one point, referee Marcus Johnson got on the plane's PA system and joked that they would be passing out condoms shortly. Someone else let a stink bomb off on the plane, and according to the sources, the airline called ahead and requested that a WCW official meet the flight at the airport. The sources say that Janie Engel, a WCW executive secretary, met the flight on behalf of WCW and was told that the airline plans to file charges against 3 WCW employees. Here's where business picks up.
Okay.
When confronted, several wrestlers blamed ring announcer David Penzer for causing the disturbance.
Really?
While witnesses say Penzer caused his share of commotion on the flight, the wrestlers were simply passing the blame onto him to save themselves.
That's probably there's no question that happened.
Was Dave Penzer a fucking party animal?
Well, Dave went out a lot, yeah, but Dave was smart enough not to do shit like that.
Do you remember hearing about this plane situation?
Yeah, I do remember hearing about it.
So we've always heard about the WWF's version of the plane ride from hell. You've probably heard about this. In 2002, there was a European flight, and guys were horsing around and tackling each other and showing their junk to stewardesses and cutting eyebrows and just craziness.
What year was this?
2002.
2000. Okay.
Do you recall, maybe 2001? I'll get lots of tweets either way.
Yeah.
Do you recall this plane ride from hell to Arizona? Were you on this flight?
I was not on the flight.
But you heard about it.
Yes, I heard about it.
What'd you hear?
I heard that there was a ruckus, and they all blamed Penzer.
Did you hear any details?
Well, no, I did not.
Why are you grinning so big?
Do you have details for me?
No, I don't.
I'm surprised
that this got out.
Yeah, well, no, I'm surprised that, and I guess in 2017 everybody would have been in jail.
Well, yeah,
there'd have been federal officials carrying them off by their bootstraps or whatever. But
yeah, it's important to note this is 2000s. This is pre 9/11,
right?
So you could still do shenanigans.
Yeah, sure you could. Shenanigans were done on planes all the time.
You got any good plane shenanigan stories you can share with us?
No.
While you think of one, let me ask you this.
Okay.
There's a rumor that when Russo is missing TV tapings because he's concussed because of the cat.
Yeah.
That Terry Taylor is the guy who takes the lead. And supposedly Ed Ferrara is probably supposed to be carrying out the actions, but maybe Ed wasn't as comfortable disciplining the boys because he wasn't one of the boys.
Exactly.
And Terry Taylor, being one of the boys, felt like he knew how to communicate and I guess speak wrestler, for lack of a better phrase.
Right.
Do you remember that being the case, and do you remember there being any blowback from guys taking orders from the fucking Red Rooster?
Well, yeah. I mean, Terry had a lot of heat with a lot of guys, and a lot of guys didn't like Terry. Terry also, I've told you this, and Terry, most of us have a device in our head that prevents us from saying things that we shouldn't say, and Terry never had that. Terry just blurted out anything that was on his mind, which a lot of times was wrong, and he got a lot of heat with the boys because of that.
Let's kind of put a bow on our War Games 2000 episode.
I'm glad I lived through it. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, it was touch and go there for a minute.
Yeah.
The Torchwood report, talking about your commentary specifically. This edition of Nitro was good.
Well, hang on a second. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I want to get fucking prepared for it.
This edition of Nitro was good, but too much was stuffed into 2 hours. There were 3 or 4 weeks worth of angles dumped into this 2-hour program. There was never a dull moment, but there was also never a chance to catch one's breath. Russo is so worried that someone is going to flip the channel, that there is a moment where something monumental isn't happening, that he loses all sense of pacing as a result. Would you agree with that?
Yes. You got to the commentary part yet? Where Wade Keller buries my ass?
You just assume that he was negative. Why would you assume he's negative?
Well, because they mostly were. They mostly were negative. The commentary.
They didn't say anything bad about you.
How about that? Okay.
They did say the strong point was that the War Games as a main event, paid off with a compelling, intricately booked payoff. But the weak point was the whole storyline leading up to the War Games was rushed within the 2-hour framework.
Yes.
And Wade gave it a 7.5 out of 10. What would you say?
I would give it a 5.
You signed
because
off,
of the end of it.
You signed off of this show. Of course, they didn't hear your commentary today because they were listening to us when you said something like, "This is a great way to start the 6th year at Nitro," and of course, you're doing it tongue in cheek. What did you think about this at the time? Because you kind of indicated, did you feel like the fans left happy, or did they feel like they just watched some bullshit?
I thought they watched some bullshit.
So,
But I'm not going to say that, Conrad. I would never say anything like that.
Of course.
I would say it now on our podcast. They just watch a bunch of bullshit, but I wouldn't say it back then. Would have been a great way to sign off.
Conan.
Fans, thanks for being with us for an hour and a half of bullshit. We'll see you next week.
Let me just freestyle that. If you did
Okay.
that, WCW might still be in business.
Oh, yeah. Now we say
We would
that.
have needed you and Lash LaRue to drop a few LBs.
That's right.
But, I mean, that would have been it.
Exactly.
To open the show, when we saw the Wicked Clowns, they had commentary from Conan and Disco Inferno, our good brothers over at Keeping It 100.
Right.
And I thought Conan had a good line here I wanted to get your take on.
Okay.
He said that Valium wants to trademark the name ICP because they're so boring.
Good stuff.
Overall, because we're going to get lots of tweets about Vince Russo here.
We are?
And this, because a lot of people feel like him bringing back War Games and it being a triple cage like this, and it being with these guys and on free TV, was essentially sort of bastardizing an old Jim Crockett beloved match format.
Okay. All right.
And so for years and years, there's been lots of wrestling fans who say, why doesn't WWE do War Games? Why don't they bring back War Games? War Games was my favorite. But then you look back and you see this as kind of an updated version of War Games, and you're like, kind of didn't want to see it like that. What did you think? Because this is not, even though they called this War Games, it's really not.
It's not. You know what this is? This is the cage from Ready to Rumble.
Well, yeah.
Is what this is.
But this is also the 88 Great American Bash Triple Cage and the uncensored 1995 or 6 or whatever it was, Cage of Doomsday, Tower, Fuck Your Mom, all the heels against.
But War Games is 2 rings.
Right.
Right.
And he's calling it War Games here. As an old Jim Crockett purist, did you have an issue with this being called War Games?
No, not at all.
If they brought back War Games in the WWE now, would you like to see it in that incarnation or the 2-ring situation?
I'd like to see it in the 2-ring situation, but again, I've told you this before, I never did like the finish of a War Games. Never did like it.
Well, yeah, and I know our listeners hate you for that. I mean, everybody wants to look back on the stuff they grew up on and think it was the best thing ever.
Well, of course they do, but you have to realize that even though you thought it was great, not everything back then was wonderful. It is in 2017, look back and say, oh, everything was wonderful back in the Crockett days. No, not everything was wonderful back in the Crockett days, because if everything was wonderful back in the Crockett days, the Crockett's would still be in business.
Did you ever play, I don't know if you saw this, but it came up online this past week that you were actually a playable character in one of the old WCW video games?
Oh, yes, I knew that.
You played as yourself?
No, but my kids used to play
Would they all take turns beating the fuck out of Daddy?
No, they would take turns being daddy, beating the fuck out of people. I was over with my kids. Still am over with my kids.
No, you are over with your kids. I had a
Yeah.
chance to catch up with them on Tony Schiavone bobblehead night.
Right.
By the way, I left my bobblehead in your suite.
Did you really?
I didn't realize that. It was sponsored by a sponsor who doesn't pay us here, so I'm not saying their name. And I scratched that off.
Right.
Because I was going to write Slapdicks R Us on there. And as you know, me and Lois relocated to the bar, and I left it in there.
Okay.
And I thought it was in my lady friend's purse. It was not in her purse.
Okay.
So I'm going to need to get a bobblehead from
Okay,
you.
I'll get you one.
And we maybe ought to auction one off for Houston. What do you think?
That'd be great. I think it'd be a great idea.
So chat me up about, you as a playable character.
Okay.
Because this,
It was a secret character. You had to unlock it, I think, to get me as a character.
what did you have to do? Like
You had to,
glass
like-
bottom boat stuff?
No, you had to win like it's so many different levels. And you could unlock
You had to
special
dress like an idiot?
Yes, exactly. Unlock special characters. Right.
Right.
Yeah. And then my special character would always go up against Medusa. I'm just throwing you softballs here. Go ahead.
Well, listen, Medusa's listening, so I got to mind my P's and
Man,
Q's. So
I love you, Deucey.
WCW is pushing out a new game here called Backstage Assault.
Right.
And that feels like something that Klondike Bill would have really been into.
You're not kidding.
The
He
old
would've.
Backstage Assault.
He would have loved to use various
Would you have
items.
liked to take a Medusa for a little Backstage Assault?
No, I wouldn't want to use that word assault, talking about Medusa. I would have let her assault me, gladly.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
She could have. She used to say to me, she says, "I'll spin kick you," and I used to say, "Please."
I like it.
Yeah.
So the reason I ask this is because this is the only video game in history that I know of, from a pro wrestling standpoint,
Yeah.
that doesn't have a fucking ring.
Yeah. It was an EA Sports video game too.
Is there a more WCW thing than a wrestling game with no fucking
without a
wrestling
ring? That's, there you go. Those video games though were devised by EA Sports, not us.
Who is us?
WCW.
So let's take some questions from Twitter. Are you ready for this?
Oh boy. Yeah. Okay.
All right, rapid fire. This one comes from Dave Silva. He wants to know,
Wait a second. I can't speak Spanish. Okay.
are you interested in buying any oranges? What does Tony Schiavone call sexy time with Lois Schiavone? And why is it War Games? It's pretty good.
That's good. Thank you, Dave. Did that message come to us by Burrow?
Yes, it
Okay.
did.
Okay.
Jay Ward wants to know, what did you think about cage matches where you have to escape the cage to win? It seems odd to me that you have to run away from a fight in order to win.
I always thought escaping a cage was a WWE type cage match.
You didn't like that.
I didn't like that. I always thought the cage match should have been blood, guts, pin, 1, 2, 3.
So you don't like WWE cage matches, but your favorite match you ever called was?
WWE cage match.
Okay.
You know what's wrong with you? One of the things.
That I remember everything you say and use it against you.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I also tried to give you the Heimlich. And it was weird because you let me keep going for minutes before you said, "Hey, I'm fine, buddy." I mean, you weren't even coughing or struggling.
I know. It was funny. Every time you would hoist me, you would go, "Tommy Young,
Yeah.
Tommy Young," and then I'd keep laughing and keep choking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jay-Z wants to know, how come nobody gives props to Tony's commitment to the mullet? Because here in 2017, I mean, you're starting to get a little business in the front, party in the back.
Yeah,
accent
I like
going.
the mullet. Okay. I like the mullet.
are you
and I would
hoping to
tell
turn it
Jay-Z
into
to,
like-
I would tell Jay-Z to go fuck himself, but I heard he's a cop and I could get arrested.
It's true. JC Money wants to know.
JC Money.
Yeah, he's a worker.
Oh boy.
What is Tony's favorite ICP song? And can he belt out a few
ICP?
verses?
It's the Magnet song now. What was it called again?
Fucking magnets. How do they work? I feel like that should be,
Fucking magnets. How do they work? Is that how it was?
I like it.
Yeah.
Trunk full of Fago, car full of fat bitches.
That's my first date with Lois.
Cody Stutz wants to know, who hated the War Games concert in the concept in the locker room? Was there anybody kind of pushing against the idea of doing the traditional War Games?
You mean when it first started, or in WCW? What era are we talking
Tony,
about?
I didn't write the fucking question. Will you just answer?
I don't think anybody really liked the War Games because the fucker was dangerous. I mean, you could really get hurt. And the fact that in the first War Games, the fact that the Road Warriors were involved in it means you could really get hurt because those guys were stiff.
Whitey asks,
Oh, Jesus.
Shrill, buckle up.
Okay.
What the hell is that giant jockstrap thing that one of the Natural Born Thrillers is wearing? He's talking about Reno Riggins, where it looked like he had a button on a fur coat apparatus.
Right. I guess it was a strap-on. I don't know.
There we go. That's what he's hoping for.
Okay.
Ryan Harry wants to know, why was this match on Nitro 2 weeks before Fall Brawl? Wouldn't it have made more sense to wait 2 weeks and build it towards the pay-per-view?
It sure was. Thank you for being a fucking booker.
Robert wants to know, who on the show had a low-key big hog?
That probably would have been Whitey. I mean, Powder.
Borash?
Borash.
Borash had a low-key big hog?
Yes, he did.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Now, when did you start doing Borash hog watching? Like, we're announcers showering together?
You think Borash listens to this show?
Yeah. So, I mean, he works for Global Force. What the fuck else has he got? They do one taping every fucking 7 months. He's chilling right now. He's just listening to podcasts.
I always got along with Jeremy until this day.
No, he's a great guy.
Yes.
Super
Okay.
nice.
Yes.
Probably the hardest working guy down there.
Really?
I mean, he's held that fucking company together with goddamn paper clips and duct tape.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
There must be a lot of worthless slapdicks on that company, then.
There are.
If Jeremy Borash has to hold
Jeremy
that company.
Borash is the leader. And that's some shit, right?
That is some shit.
So, you know, one of the things in wrestling is the young guys have to, like, wash the veterans' backs from a generation ago. Did you make Jeremy Borash watch your back?
No, not at all.
Really?
No, I didn't.
I felt like you would have made him part the hairs or something. Kevin wants to know.
I don't have a hairy back. 3, 2.
I mean, that's it?
That's I don't have
that's
a,
the
you
whole
said, you
thing?
said, you said part the hairs. I don't have a
Well, I mean, you've described your junk as a button on a fur coat before.
Well, okay.
So I just assumed, I mean, it was like a Navajo rug back there.
It was not.
Carl Hayes wants to know, how's the wedding coming along?
Thank God. Mom and daughter are at each other's throats. And if it wouldn't be about the wedding, it'd be about something else.
He also wants to know, what is Tony's favorite drink to enjoy at the end of a long, crazy day? I would think one you could actually swallow.
Mine would be a San Pellegrino water.
He wants to know, who would star as Tony and Lois in a movie of your life?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, as me, it'd probably be Brad Pitt.
She'd be Roseanne.
And she'd be Roseanne Barr. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever notice that Matt Coon looks a lot like John Goodman?
You know what? You're right.
Yeah, you're welcome.
The John Goodman from the Roseanne days?
Not like the cool Fred Flintstone version. Either.
Right, yeah.
Like the really bowling league fucking, you know, Roseanne.
Right.
Brandon wants to know if you thought there were like subliminal messages in the opening packages of this, the intro to the show.
Oh, yeah, there was no question there was.
What do you think it was?
It was all like sexual. Yeah, subliminal images into that. There was no question it was. Watch it. We're talking about the Nitro from 2000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, from that era.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no question it was.
Lots of questions, and this is obviously coming from our other show, but everyone wants to know who booked this shit. And you've been pretty clear that you didn't think that Russo was as bad for business as a lot of people say.
Look, I thought Russo put a hell of a lot of effort into this business. There's a school of thought out there, and I want to get your opinion on this. There's a school of thought out there that Russo was a plant by Vince to fuck our business up. Do you believe that?
No, that's ridiculous.
Okay, I don't believe that either. I believe, and
only
again,
in wrestling is some stupid shit like that. Even.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I believe that Russo came in and gave us a hell of an effort. He didn't have great ideas, but no one called him on his bad ideas. They let him go through with everything he wanted to do.
A week after Wargames 2000, we saw the wedding of David Flair and Stacy Keibler.
Wow.
Is that the best wedding in the history of our great sport?
No, I don't think so. I think the best wedding in the history of our great sport was the one with the Hillbillies on Saturday night's main event.
That was hard to beat.
That was hard to beat. Yeah. When Jesse Ventura says it looked like two going for the same piece of corn when they were kissing. That put me on the floor.
JC Money wants to know, how long did Tony sit in the makeup room chair at this event waiting for Major Guns and or Tori Wilson to show up?
I sat there as long as it take. I had my format in my hand, which I knew would fucking change by the second segment. And I would sit in the makeup chair and just hang out, talk to the makeup girls. That's how I got to know Terry Runnels, Terry Boatwright, Marlena. Because she was a makeup girl for a long time.
You got any good Marlena stories?
No.
Why'd you get all shifty-eyed and weird?
Because there was... okay.
Well,
there was a rumor back then that I was having sex with Marlena.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You can ask her about it. That Terry Boatwright and I were... this was before Dustin and her got hooked up together.
Right.
That I was... Because we hung out together a lot.
Well, there's a rumor that Dusty had heat with Dustin.
Yeah.
For getting with her.
Yes.
Because apparently he wasn't the first wrestler she had been with.
Right.
Is that true?
I don't know if that's true or not, but that was true that Dusty thought that.
He did not think highly of her initially.
Right, exactly.
It's probably great as somebody over here on the periphery, but when it came to you're going to be in the family,
right.
I don't know about this.
Right.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. Right.
Do you think that was understandable of him, or do you feel like she was kind of getting a bad rap?
I thought she was getting a bad rap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she was backstage.
Getting backstage assault.
No, she was backstage and got to know all the guys. I mean, listen.
So he was confusing someone being friendly, like you and Medusa.
Right.
Or you and Deborah.
Right.
Or you and, I don't know, anyone else with boobs. That you were just being nice to them.
Right.
And people would just jump to conclusions. Oh, they must be sleeping together.
Look, Terry Boatwright and I, Terry before Terry Runnels, just Terry Boatwright. That was her real name. That's her maiden name. Real name.
You're getting real inside here.
Yeah, Terry Boatwright is her name, from Lake City, Florida.
Sure.
Okay.
New Jack knows her name. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard some of those things.
Oh,
Okay.
I don't know how we got sidetracked here.
I know how we got sidetracked because you said the name New Jack and you shouldn't have. Okay. So anyway, we were very friendly. We went up to lunch a lot together.
Yeah.
We hung out, and everybody thought I was fucking Terry Boatwright. I was not.
Did y'all go Dutch?
No,
You paid.
Yeah.
So did you go Dutch oven?
No, we did not. You know what? Don't start this with this.
You don't even know what Dutch oven means.
I don't care what it is. She's a sweet girl.
Dutch oven is when you and Lois are under the covers at night, and Lois pulls the covers over your head and holds them tight and rips a sick fart.
Oh God! Well, we don't sleep in the same bed. You do know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we don't. We have different bedrooms.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's turning heel.
No, it's by necessity. It is.
Oh, all the dogs.
All the dogs.
We've talked about
all
this.
the dogs, and for a long time I worked at the radio station.
And you had crazy hours.
I had crazy hours, yeah.
Yeah, and she likes to stay up all night drinking.
Exactly. And then she would stumble in drunk and wake me up.
And Facebook and wine booking.
Yeah, wine booking.
Wine booking.
Yeah, she would be on her phone going click, 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 and I said, I got to go to sleep. So I started going into the one of the guest rooms, and I've just stayed in there.
Wow. So that's the key to a happy marriage.
It is.
Move out.
Is. No doubt. And we've had separate bedrooms now for about 8 years.
And it's working.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Absolutely is.
So you essentially have a roommate that has a lot of dogs.
I have a sister.
You have a sister that has a lot of dogs.
Exactly. Right.
And cusses at you.
Oh, boy, does she ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this what I have to look forward to?
I don't know. I don't know. I have a feeling that you would be the big time alpha male at your house and you would run things. I'm not that way. I kind of let things happen in my house.
Wait.
I kind of let things happen in my house. You would probably boss people around and things would have to be your way or the fucking highway. I kind of just, if Lois wants to say, we want to do it this way, I go, yeah, that's fine.
Same thing you did in WCW, and reason they went out of business.
Exactly.
So your marriage is going out of business.
My marriage is going out of business because
professional yes man.
Exactly.
Tony Schiavone.
Exactly.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Whatever.
exactly. Say Cactus Jack is drizzling shits. Okay, I'll be glad to. Whatever.
What's interesting about this to me is just not even 2 hours ago, you were chastising a friend of mine and saying, no, unlike you, house. And now,
that's just a running joke.
Here officially on the record.
Yeah, I don't.
I
don't run shit.
I just show up.
I do. I
give her my check and go to work.
I do. I just show up. I'm just so I mean, listen, when you get to be my fucking age, you're going to be
Let
like...
me just ask, since we're doing it. Hypothetically, if you jumped on Craigslist tomorrow looking for like a used washer and dryer, whatever married people your age do,
Yeah.
and you happen to just wonder, what is this misconnections thing?
Yeah.
And you clicked misconnections.
Okay.
And there was a listing
Uh-huh.
from a man who used to work with a short little chubby announcer with a button on a fur coat 25 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And as you read through all the description, you realized, oh my God, I think this is Tom Zink. Would you make a run at it just to see if you and Tom could really be happy?
No, I would not, but I would call him to see how he was.
Maybe just start slow. Just take things slow, see where they go.
Yeah, that's how good relationships build. Slowly.
Well, I think we have built to a fine finish here for Wargames 2000. And it's going to be interesting to figure out how we can top this, because this has been a train wreck of a show, and maybe 2 weeks in a row.
That's right.
I mean, you almost died.
Well, I know I almost died, and but you know what? It was fun. Death, almost dying, was fun. It really was.
We normally give a preview for topics the next week.
Yeah.
But instead of doing that research, I was actually writing your obituary. So we're instead just going to post the topics on Twitter. Go vote right now at WHW Monday on Twitter. Feel free to send your hate tweets to @Tony Schiavone 24, and
Yeah,
I'm
please
at
do.
Hey it's Conrad.
Yeah, please do.
And if you'd like to send us a selfie of yourself wearing our shirt like Lois Rules and Zach Ryder did,
Yeah.
shout out to Zach Ryder for
Yeah.
doing that. Over 2 million people saw Lois Rules.
Right.
I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and not only that. Honestly, you know, it could have been somebody else, but Zack Ryder's is a big deal.
Woo, woo, woo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's big for us.
It's huge for us.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to say before we wrap this up? Because when I look at my clock, I realize it's about time. But if you wanted to say something, now would be the time. Because if you have another drinking incident like we saw earlier, this could be it. And before you leave, I'd like for you to fill out some papers. Because if drinking is water is this big of a challenge at your age, I got to get in on this. This feels like a lottery ticket that will pay off. You just got to have some patience, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So, what do you want me to sign?
A life insurance policy.
Well, I'm glad I lived through this.
I am too.
Yeah.
The only way you could have been more shocked would have been if Barbarian came around that corner in full fucking paint. Tony,
Yep.
it's time.
Thanks, Conrad Thompson. Our main event in Wargames 2017 is Goldberg against Conrad Thompson. As Conrad second, it's going to be Bret the Hitman Hart. And here Goldberg tries to kick Conrad in the head. He kicked him in the head, and Conrad's not selling shit. But what else is new? We're out of time this week on What Happened When Monday.